Okay. It looks like we are live. Welcome, everyone. This is Andres Restart. This is our weekly podcast. This time, I'm joined by Botox Games. His channel is linked in the description below. Bo, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I've been following you, I think, since maybe late last year. So when you DM'd me after we had like a little bit of a dispute on Twitter, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
sure, I'll come on. This would be fun and talk about this direct. So yeah, thanks for having me, man.
No, for sure. And I've actually seen you before as well, right? So when I saw, I guess I put like a Twitter post, right, talking about my video, kind of like my take on the direct, and then you responded and you disagreed, and I saw you watch my video and you still disagreed, right? So, right, and so yeah, we had a disagreement. I was like, oh, you know what? This is a really cool dude. Let's get on and let's just like talk about it from both perspectives and just about the overall direct, because we both love Nintendo, and I felt like it would be a good opportunity to get to know each other and just kind of have like a good conversation. So thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you guys know Brandon already, or if you don't, Brandon, my friend and co-host, is also here. How you doing, buddy?
I'm fine. I'm alive.
You're fine.
I'm ready to talk Nintendo. In terms of Nintendo, I'm also fine. You know, the direct was it was good, but it wasn't something that like rocked my world. I've seen some people on Twitter saying it's like the best direct they've ever seen, and I just could not disagree more. It wasn't the worst direct I've ever seen, but it was I don't know. I think it depends on what type of games you really excite you. I think it depends on what really interests you, because they were good games. All the games were good. They just weren't games that like really got me like hyped. Like none of the games that they showed I'm like, man, day one purchase. I cannot wait to play this game. There are some day one purchases on there, but I'm not like dying to play them.
Interesting. Yeah. You know, and I think that's gonna be a big part of tonight's discussion. Kind of like coming in from with our different perspectives on the direct, and just kind of going back to the grade. I feel like grading is a little arbitrary, right? You know, like I think during our live stream, I do it for fun sometimes, right? But like I think I gave the direct a C, and a C for me is par for the course, right? It's not like terrible, but it's not.
We use the whole grading scale here.
Yeah. But the thing is, when I said C, I think some people might think of that as, oh, so you're saying it's bad.
Right.
It's somewhere in the middle for me, right? And the thing is, I think every direct is good, and so I would say this direct is still good. But it also kind of depends on like what you're looking for. And I think that's maybe where our opinions sort of differ. It's not that we see the same things, but we might be valuing certain things more than others, right? So I think it's going to be kind of interesting to kind of like dive into that, get into our perspective. So we'll be talking about that today, and just kind of like the different games in this direct, what wasn't at the direct, and how we think things are going to shake out for the rest of this year and maybe a little bit of next year. And that's kind of like the general plan. But before we go further, let me check in with the chat here. Guys, if you could let me know how everything is looking and sounding. And then we'll get the show on the road. Alright, so the Megaton Menace added me earlier. This direct was great, but for people that don't care about Mario, it was a bit dry. Had me feeling excited for the next direct, probably in September. You know, I think that's actually a pretty good perspective on it, because this was a very Mario-heavy direct. I think most will agree with that. And if you're not into the Mario offerings, I can see why there might be some disappointment for you. So, for sure. And, you know, like, I think one thing to note is that just because we didn't necessarily see certain things in direct, that doesn't mean they're not happening. That just means they weren't shown off for this direct, which does probably mean they're not coming out for this year, but it doesn't mean they can't be coming out early next year or sometime next year, right? Like it's up in the air. There's a whole bunch of products that Nintendo's working on, but we'll dive into that a bit. And you know, as I read some of these chats, Bo, feel free to jump in. You know, like, and Brandon, you already know the drill.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and now
I just wanted to say, you mentioned the like your grading. I would give the direct an A- or an A. I think it was a very good direct.
Okay.
So I guess I'm the most positive one here for sure.
Sure.
I love all Nintendo games. There are very few exceptions. And as someone who is like a huge Xenoblade and Fire Emblem fan, I feel like, and a Smash Bros. Fan as well, I feel like for the entire Switch generation, I've been just eating very well. Most directs open or close with Fire Emblem, Xenoblade, or Smash. For the past 3 years, Mario's and I know it's a meme, but Mario has actually been kind of neglected. I know it's the meme of like they forgot about Mario, but it does feel outside of like really shoddy sports games we haven't had much. So for me to see them really come back with Mario Bros. Wonder, which I think looks fantastic, but also Mario RPG, a game I've never played, and just embrace like, you know, these weird zany art styles with Mario again. I'm not a huge WarioWare fan, but that's cool. This weird Peach game, Luigi's Mansion, which we'll get to, and what that means for a potential Switch 2. When I come to Directs, I usually am looking for some sort of roadmap, which is why I actually really dislike the February Direct. Though I know if you're a big Metroid Prime fan, you're going to love that Direct because Metroid Prime, right?
Well, it's funny I would say the February Direct was an A for me. So it's just, it's really, and so would you say that one was like a C or a B or a D? Like,
yeah, I would say that's one of the weaker Directs for me overall of the Switch generation, because I come to these Directs for first-party announcements,
right?
A lot of the time, and a roadmap. And, you know, when we hear reports of people saying, oh, there's no big games after Tears of the Kingdom, I'm just like, I don't believe that, but also that Direct announced nothing. So I'm always like, it's a little weird. So I mean, it's all a matter of perspective, what franchises you really value. For me, the February Direct, it had Metroid Prime Remastered, which is great, but always looking for a little bit more than that, you know?
Sure. And so, all right, let's dive into it. We'll come back to chat in a bit, because I think we should just like get into it now. So, it is interesting, right? Because like it's almost like our responses to each Direct this year have been on the opposite ends, right? Like, so like this Direct was a C for me, last Direct was an A, and for you it's vice versa, basically, right? And you know, I guess it kind of comes down to what you're looking for. And when I say that, I guess when I grade Directs, because I also like pretty much every Nintendo game, right? Like, I'm gonna buy Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I'm going to 100% that game. I can pretty much guarantee that, because I 100% every single mainline Mario game. Super Mario RPG, I mean, I remember during the whole like Smash hype cycle, like with the different DLC stuff, I was speculating on Geno coming for a long time. I was like the Geno defender, right? And alongside that speculation was like, oh, what if Nintendo's playing a Mario RPG remake? And obviously we didn't get Geno as a playable character, but we now have this remake. Like, so that speculation was somewhat truthful, right? So like, I've been kind of hoping for these things for a while. So I actually am excited about them. But then I also look at August and September, and I see that Nintendo hasn't announced anything for those months. And I feel that usually Nintendo has something for each month. Now, I understand they have Detective Pikachu and WarioWare coming out in October and November. So they have 4 games from that they're publishing coming out in those 2 months, which they've done before, but they've also still had at least something coming out in the prior months. So like, that's kind of like why I see the Direct as maybe a little bit less than amazing. And also there's nothing in December either. Of course, they can always announce that later. Could be something smaller, which is something they usually do. And so when I see that, you know, I'm thinking, okay, maybe they're starting to... It's not so much that they're slowing down their pace, because there's still a lot of games coming. They're still going to sell really well. Like, that Mario game is going to sell 20 million, at least. Like, I think Tears of the Kingdom and Mario, like, the fact that they're kind of sandwiching the year with those 2 big games, like, Nintendo's doing well, right? So I'm not, like, worried about Nintendo. It's not doom and gloom. I just think the Direct was par for the course. Like, kind of, you know, and I look at the February Direct, and after the February Direct, they announced Prime Remastered, right? They confirmed that Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe had extra content, so February was looking really good, right? And we were coming off Fire Emblem Engage when they were showing off the DLC then. And then March we had Bayonetta Origins, which I personally wasn't too excited about, but it turned out to be a pretty good game. So there was that. And then April they confirmed Advance Wars, which I was hoping for. Finally we got Advance Wars. We didn't know about Future Redeemed coming out then, so you can't really count that, right? At least when we're just looking at the Direct itself.
There was a short teaser, but yeah.
Yeah, and then like we didn't know when it was coming. Like so exactly. So like they didn't exactly fill up April. We didn't know they were filling up April with that until later. And then May, obviously, they showed off Tears of the Kingdom. They gave us more of a trailer. People wanted more, but I was like, okay, this is the biggest trailer yet. You know, we have more details on this. Fantastic. And they showed us Pikmin 4 for July. So when I was looking at that lineup, I was like, oh, they pretty much have something for every single month. And every month it's something that I really want. So for me, that felt like a better Direct, just because every month had something, while this second half, August, September, December don't have anything. October and November look good, but it's also mostly the most exciting parts are 2 Mario games back to back. Like the WarioWare thing, it's not that I dislike WarioWare, but we just got a Wario game 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, and it's gonna be 2 years once it comes out. So that didn't seem like a big thing to me. And the Detective Pikachu 2, we've been waiting a long time for it, but I'm not excited for it.
Maybe we should have kept waiting.
Maybe we should have kept waiting. Maybe we should have kept waiting. It looks
Does not
like
look impressive.
It looks
at
really
all.
bad.
Right. So it's hard for me to be like, oh, that's a big thing. Like, it might sell well, but it doesn't seem like a big thing. So that's kind of like my perspective on why I think the February Direct was better, because I think it did a better job of exciting us for the first half of the year and giving us something every month. While this Direct, having both Mario RPG and Mario Bros. Wonder are amazing, so October and November we're going to be eating good, but I kind of felt like we were lacking in variety in terms of like things that might appeal to the core Nintendo fan base. And there was just some months that are missing. So that's why I kind of ranked them that way.
Yeah, it would have been nice if they could have balanced the year in terms of pacing a little bit better, because I don't know about you guys, but I've been talking about how it's very weird how the first half was so front-loaded in terms of stuff, which to the February Direct's credit, it was a great first half of the year, right? With Zelda and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, if they could have gotten Mario RPG out in March and maybe pushed Xenoblade to September, that probably would have made it feel a lot more balanced. Right, yeah. As much as, I mean, Future Redeem's probably my game of the year right now, next to Tears of the Kingdom. So yeah, it's fantastic. So I would have hated to wait for it, but it is a very unbalanced year, and I won't deny that. I think your concern for August and September, they almost never have a game in August. Was Dream Buffet in August last year? I think it was, or was that July?
I would have to double check.
Yeah, I think there's still potential for another game. Now, it's not going to be anything massive. It might be a GameCube Shadow Drop. People have been thinking about that. It could be
F-Zero, maybe.
Right, yeah, exactly. F-Zero is probably the popular choice, right? Maybe a eShop Kirby game. They like to crap those out once a year.
You're right about Dream Buffet coming out last August.
Yeah, but typically they don't have something in August. And Nintendo's lineup this year is also just weird because they're not publishing Baten Kaitos, which is in September, which I still don't really understand why they're not publishing that, because they own half the, or they like co-own the IP with Bandai Namco.
It wasn't in the Direct either. Like they announced,
right?
I mean, we knew about it, but they showed it off more of it.
We got a release date,
yeah. So it's just kind of weird how that was not even in the Direct. But I mean, if you count that, then sure. But technically,
right. Technically, in terms of Nintendo's release calendar, doesn't count. But also, like Level 5's exclusive games, we don't know what's going on with those. And yeah, they don't count for Nintendo, but they are big exclusives. Though with Baten Kaitos, that's GameCube ports, so it doesn't really matter. I'll agree that the release pacing is weird, but I think it's a little early to be like, oh, September has nothing. Because I do think there's a chance, maybe not even a GameCube game, maybe another EPD4 game. Releasing Everybody Want to Switch in June's a little weird. They could have pushed that, maybe Ring Fit Adventure 2 or something.
Another
casual
option,
party game.
This would be a GameCube thing, but like, for example, if Metroid Prime 4 is going to get its reveal in September, they might give Shadow Drop Prime 2 in September.
Sure.
Which is would be pretty good, right? So like, I mean, I agree with you there, right? And it's just that's why I'm not even like down on this year. I'm just mid on the Direct. Right, because the Direct didn't announce it, but that's just a Direct. There can be other things. To your point, there could be a Shadow Drop, 3DS, GameCube, or Wii remaster in September. There's a lot of options, as you brought up, and some of the things I brought up. And maybe there is an August release. There could be, because like Dream Buffet, like that was just an eShop title, right? Like they could announce another eShop title like that, and then all of a sudden we have kind of like something of substance for every month. So that's still totally possible. I just look at, Paul, you may be right in saying that we don't always get a game in August. We never go 2 months without a Nintendo published title. So that's kind of like the weird part for me, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I guess the video that we were talking about, like the point I was making, and I think Brandon somewhat agrees with me. We actually talked about the video idea before I made it. Because when we saw the Direct. And Brandon, feel free to add to this or change my mind.
I'm trying to remember what it was. I remember talking about it. Once you say it, I'll remember.
Yeah, you will. Because basically after the Direct, you were like, "Hey, so this kind of makes us feel like Nintendo is transitioning to the next gen, right?" And like,
yes.
So like we agreed on that. I was like, "Yeah, this kind of feels like that." And so I made that video, right? But it wasn't, and I think sometimes, and I'm not accusing you of this, right? It's just kind of like generalization. You know, I mean, especially with the YouTube comments, right? Like someone will come in, they'll make an assumption, say what they're going to say, and leave without listening to the whole video. I wasn't trying to say that the games and the direct are bad. No, I think they're good.
No, of course
right?
not. Yeah.
But
Yeah, I agree.
but I look at the lineup, and to me, it feels like we are going into something that was that's similar to the late cycle for 3DS. And the late cycle for 3DS was still good. There were still games coming out with frequency. They were just games that weren't necessarily as high budget. And there was a lot more remasters and ports. And it was just kind of like very smart choices for games that will entertain the fan base, but won't require as much resources, so they can start to, spread things out and transition over to Switch, because we were still getting published Nintendo titles on 3DS until 2019, right? So when I say, hey, this direct is telling me that Nintendo's gearing up for a Switch 2 announcement reveal next year, that's not me saying that Switch games are dying out. Like, there's still clearly Switch games coming, right? Like,
yeah,
like
obviously.
the Luigi game, the Peach game, like those are things that are coming out. We don't know when they're coming out, but obviously sometime next year. Like, Nintendo's already doing a good job of giving us games to play, but those games to me come off as maybe like not their biggest AAA developmental efforts. Still gonna be quality stuff, and it's just to me, looking at the direct, it feels like Nintendo is starting to transition. They're trying to start to treat the Switch a bit like the 3DS, which is still going to get amazing games for a few more years, but some of those but there's going to be a little bit more of a ratio weighing more towards remasters and ports and smaller budget titles, while they sort of save up some of their bigger stuff for their launch, I'm assuming next year, for Switch 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you can compare it to 3DS 1-to-1. Because 3DS, because
not 100%. No,
if we're comparing it to 2017, I mean, that lineup was, except for what? Well, we had Hey Pikmin. It's a great game.
Yeah,
classic,
Well, the
Turns,
3DS was a lot more dead than Switch
Yeah.
is not dead. It's slowing down a bit in sales, but it's when 3DS or when Switch was about to come out, people actively were like upset at 3DS games releasing. At a point,
yeah,
or at least in the
different.
bubble that I was in, like 3DS had like almost a negative connotation for a bit. Nowadays, people love the 3DS again, as they did when it was like in its prime. But it's a different situation here, where it's like the Switch is still doing well, so it is getting some more budget, definitely. And definitely more frequent releases, but it is starting to get some more of the types of releases, I think, that the 3DS started to get.
So these are the 2016 3DS games. Mario and Sonic at the Olympics, Disney Art Academy, Kirby Planet, Robobot. I'm reading this from Wiki, so hopefully it's correct. Cold Step Revolt, I've never even heard of that. Metroid Prime Federation Force, Mario Party Star Rush, Pokemon Sun and Moon, Animal Crossing New Leaf, Welcome Amiibo, Shovel Knight, Super Mario Maker, Miitopia, Momotaro Dentetsu, Yokai Watch 3, Story of Seasons, Monster Hunter Stories, Hyrule Warrior Legends Bravely Second. And looking at that, I would say that doesn't feel like Animal Crossing New Leaf Welcome Amiibo is not the Animal Crossing game. Like, that's like the extra Amiibo stuff.
It's the update.
Right.
This is a pretty good update.
And then there's also some downloadable stuff like Box Boy, Metroid Prime Blast. Well, but Metroid Prime Blast Ball came out alongside Federation Force. And you look at 2017, the list is actually smaller, which, if we're going to play the whole analogy, like, we don't know what the 2017 for Switch is yet, because I'm assuming the equivalent is next year, right?
Sure.
But for 3DS, that was Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World, Hako Boy, Mario Sports Superstars, Fire Emblem Echoes, Ever Oasis, Hey Pikmin, Samus Returns, Mario and Luigi, Style Savvy, Ultra Sun and Moon, Kirby Battle Royale, Mario Party, the top 100. And I could see a scenario where maybe Prime 4 does come out for Switch next year. Now, the difference being, I think that would probably be a cross-gen, right? That
I hope so.
The Poochie and Yoshi Woolly World game, like, I mean, that was a decent game for. Was that
support?
It's
Yeah,
a Wii game.
Yeah. So
Great game.
Yeah, great game.
Oh, I love the game on Wii U. I didn't
Yeah.
play the 3DS version, but it looks pretty close closer than I would expect for the 3DS.
Yeah. And there was Ever Oasis, which was pretty cool, and Fire Emblem Echoes, right? So like, and we might get Fire Emblem Genealogy War next year. So that I'm just saying, like, you can see that they were slowly, like, the amount of games and the kind of games were changing as they transitioned over, but there were still good games.
Primarily remakes, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I've seen a lot of people saying, like, oh, this year has a lot of remakes. And, I mean, that's true. I would need to actually, like, crunch all the numbers for each year. I feel like every year of the Switch, people say that. 2018 is notorious, you know?
True.
Yeah.
This year, we're getting a 2D Mario game that will, if not match Tears of the Kingdom sales numbers, probably outsell it if its legs don't get cut off by a new system. So it's weird to compare. Yeah, I would say next year would probably be the comparison, because there's gonna be a lot of similar stuff too with, like you said, Fire Emblem 4 remake. I do think we'll probably get another Pokemon game next year, but maybe not the most exciting type. Like Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon weren't super exciting for most people.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll get like another Legends game. That'd be cool.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
This is what I want, but it's probably gonna be like a Let's Go game. I don't know.
I would take Let's Go at this point. Don't give Ilka Black and White. I swear. Please do not do that.
Let's Go Johto is what I'm pulling for.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
as long as Ilka doesn't touch Black and White.
Yeah. So I guess and it doesn't even sound like our opinions are really that different.
Sure. No, it really doesn't.
No. I do think that this is maybe me playing the optimistic perspective for Switch 2. I think, and I haven't talked about this publicly yet, right? Because I've been like, like, I have this optimism that maybe Switch could come out at the end of this year, and my take has been, if we don't hear something, but I've been like, probably not, right? Like, but there's a chance, and it conceivably Nintendo could make an announcement in July, but after the Direct, I think it's pretty clear that's not happening. Like, there's no chance, right? Like, I maybe have had like maybe like a 10% chance, like right before the Direct, and now it's like a 0, like, or a 0.0001 or something, you know, like, it's just extremely unlikely. But I do think there's a small percent chance, maybe higher than 10, maybe like 15, 20-ish percent, that Switch 2 could be like a March to May release. Like, I don't think that's a total stretch. I don't think it's the safest bet, but I think it's a maybe, right? But I am kind of going to err more towards sometime between summer and the holiday.
Yeah, I mean, we're arguing semantics at this point, because I think it's early 2025, which really is only like 6 months off of what you think, which really isn't that far apart.
No,
you know,
no. But early 2025 for you might not consider soon, right? And like, summer 2024 for me, I would say is soon. And then the holidays kind of like, we might get an announcement soon, right? Soon, you know, within half a year is possible. Maybe
I don't think they'll announce it before Mario comes out, at the very least.
I think they have to wait till next year.
Yeah, I think the earliest you see it is maybe January.
Yeah.
Even then it feels like maybe.
But I just feel like if that were the case, we would have heard something more concrete by now from manufacturing or other insiders. I don't know.
I mean, Nikkei has said that they're expecting like a summer release, right? But who knows what that really means. So yeah, it's tough, but either way, like, this Direct, I mean, there's games, right? And I think you look at 2023 as a whole, it's a good lineup, like, just collectively. And I do agree with you. Maybe they could have paced things a little bit better, because it felt weird that they just sort of shoved out Prime Remaster, they just sort of shoved out Future Redeemed, and they also are shoving out Everybody Want to Switch. But I mean, that one's probably a slightly different sort of scenario, because they don't want people to know how bad it is, I guess. But it is weird how they kind of shoved out all these games in the first half when they have some vacant months in the second half.
Right.
That to me is just odd.
Yeah, Future Redeemed especially just doesn't quite add up. Also, the Engage DLC releasing in the pace it did, it all came out in like 2 months.
Before I even looked it up, it was all out already.
I didn't even realize. I bought the expansion pass. I didn't even know. It made me think like, oh, maybe this June Direct will have Fire Emblem 4 remake, or maybe like a Xenoblade Warriors or something. But then that didn't happen. So I think Fire Emblem 4 is a lock for September. But yeah, the pacing this year has been very weird. for Nintendo.
That does make sense, though, getting all the DLC out quick because they want to prepare people for the next Fire Emblem to come out maybe early next year. So, yeah. But let's check on the chat real quick here. I'll get to a few questions, and then we'll kind of just, like, start talking about just different things in the Direct.
Mm-hmm.
Joe6831, you are not wrong. It was a very mid-Direct. Alright, someone agrees with me, I guess. Thank you. Ronnie Fazio,
we
Spider-Man
did the
2 looks
poll.
good.
There were quite a few people that agreed with us.
Well,
At the end
a
of
lot of people agree, but the poll ended with B winning, so most people agree.
No,
yeah.
I know, but it was a significant
up
amount.
and down. Yeah.
It was pretty close.
Yeah.
Between all of them except D.
Yeah.
A, B, and C were pretty close.
I mean, every time there's a Direct, there's always people who are saying the Direct was terrible, and I never agree with that. I never think the Directs are terrible, unless we're talking about partner showcases. But the partner showcases, you should have
that
much
first
lower
partner
expectations.
showcase
So,
Oh my
you know,
real
goodness.
rough.
Those first couple were really bad.
Yeah. But then it got good after Monster Hunter Rise got announced and won, I believe.
Yeah.
That was good.
There is such thing as a good partner showcase, but
It happened last year.
I'd rather they just don't happen. I don't want to take that chance. Unless Capcom's gonna announce the next Resident Evil game for Switch.
Well, I have a question for you.
Sure.
If Metroid Prime 4 had been here, would this have been an S Plus Direct for you? Would that have been enough to completely transform it? Because I hate to point fingers, but have you cultivated such a Metroid Prime oriented audience that no matter what, it's going to be a negative response if Metroid does not show up?
I think that's a valid question, and it's definitely a consideration I've had about myself, right? Because I do try and like self-assess, and I think there's a little bit of that, a little bit, but I also think I would like to say that the audience I've cultivated is fair, as it's impossible to be unbiased, right? But I feel like the audience I've cultivated here is very analytical. We like to discuss and try and be as level-headed as possible, which, you know, there's no such thing as perfection, right? So, you know, and I usually like to say, like, hey, while we may not get what we're looking for, there's bound to be something that will still be fun, right? And Mario Bros. Wonder and Mario RPG are going to be amazing. But that all said, just me personally, if you go to my live stream, right, and I already knew the 2D Mario was going to be the game that was showing up at the end, but like there was definitely like moments where I was like, oh, maybe the Peach game was a 2D Mario game, like maybe that's what it is, and they're setting Prime 4 for the big last reveal, like that's what I was kind of hoping for. But like my tone was like, oh yeah, it's 2D Mario, oh that looks really cool, man, they've really done like it. Like I was saying things that I was genuinely enjoying everything I saw. But if you watch my live stream, you're like, man, this guy's like so down. I was so upset. But I'm still excited about Mario Bros. Wonder. Like I was like, it looks really cool. I've rewatched the trailer like 10 times. It's amazing. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Mario Bros. Wonder is the better game to show off in this Direct. It's exciting. It's gonna, you know, it's gonna make Nintendo a lot more money. It gives them a much better chance at having a lucrative year, and it gives them a much better chance at hitting their fiscal earnings. And Prime 4, you know, the other thing is that, like, I have a source that told me that Prime 4 is complete, right? And obviously, from an outsider's perspective, you should take that with a grain of salt. You don't know what that source is, and I can't tell you, right? All I can tell you is that I've asked other people, like, hey, this is who told me this. And like, oh yeah, I would trust that 100%, right? Like that's what I've been told, right? But of course, I can't tell you that. And so I think the game is done. Now they might be polishing it up, right? We saw hirings, right? So there may be. It's kind of like how Tears of the Kingdom. We just got news that Tears of the Kingdom has been done for over a year, right? Like we could be in the same scenario for Prime 4, where it's done, but it's done like how Tears of the Kingdom was done for a year without coming out, right? So they're just kind of working on it. They might be preparing a Switch 2 version, all this stuff. But I think because I have that knowledge, I know Nintendo can just show off Prime 4 whenever they want, right? Like, I know that's what I believe. So, I know Nintendo has what I want, and they're just like, no, we're not going to show you. And I think what makes it Xera thinks is Nate the Hate was expecting Prime 4 to be in this direct, right? And I trust Nate the Hate. Like, I think Nate the Hate's one of the best insiders out there. So if he was expecting it, I was like, oh, well, you know, when I consider what I know, right? And hearing what he's saying, and also factoring that Prime Remastered just came out, I kind of felt like they forced it out. I was thinking, oh, this is the time, right? Like, so while I usually go into a direct, and if I don't get what I want, I'm like, oh, okay, it's fine. There's other things here. This time, I was so ready for Prime 4. When they didn't show it off, I was like, oh, damn it. Especially because we just got Tears of the Kingdom, so now there's not like a big game for like people to like the hardcore Nintendo fan base to sort of like wait on. So I was thinking, okay, they need to give us something for that. Now, Mario Bros. Wonder is a big Nintendo game, and we're gonna be talking about that for the next half year, and so that kind of does fulfill that role. So yeah, you know, I am a little biased. Like, I'm not gonna deny. Like, if Prime 4 was there, I would have been elated. I would have been screaming. I would have lost my voice. That time will come. It just wasn't last week. So
Yeah. It is funny because we go through this every direct for the past half a decade. Oh, this is it. This is the one. This is the one. Prime 4. It's happening. Every time.
Yeah.
without fail every time.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I was 50-50 in my predictions videos and everything, saying like I could see Prime 4 coming out this year. I think that was reasonable based on literally no knowledge of retro and its development cycle right now. But I want to say September is possible, and they reveal it, and it comes out in like February. I think it's totally possible. I think when we see Metroid Prime 4, they have a date on it. They've done that with every Metroid game in this modern era. So I think when we see that game, the fact that Nintendo released that video in 2019 saying, "Hey, we messed up," I think there's a level of pride.
Oh yeah.
Where they are not going to show us this game unless, like you said, it is done. I think we heard that Mercury Steam was done with Samus Returns and Dread, right? Before they even revealed them. Because they came out, 2 or 3 months after that. So, yeah, I want to say we'll see it in September. but
yeah. The same way I was like, this might be it.
Yeah, I've been saying that for 3 years.
Right, you know. And you know, it's amazing because, like, I think Nintendo does an amazing job of making us worry when there's no reason to worry. Like, I mean, I know you were covering Tears of the Kingdom, right? You were making a lot of Tears of the Kingdom videos leading up to release. And, like, there was a lot of discussion about, oh, Tears of the Kingdom was just a DLC. Oh, you know, Nintendo's being really quiet about it. We should be nervous. The marketing is terrible. And now in hindsight, you know, I was a Tears of the Kingdom defender. I was like, oh, no, it's fine, right? But in hindsight, Tears of the Kingdom is one of the fastest-selling games of all time. Tears of the Kingdom is one of the highest-reviewed games of all time. It is also one of the largest Nintendo games of all time. So, like, all those concerns and arguments, they just prove to be false, you know. But a lot of that came from Nintendo being really quiet about the game, waiting until as long as possible before really giving us any details on it, and it was just because Nintendo chose to be secretive on it. You know, they didn't want to spoil anything about it, and that's just how it is. You know, like, this Mario Bros. Wonder game, I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo had been sitting on this for quite some time. I think Nintendo has a lot of games they've been sitting on.
It's been, 10 years since the last 2D Mario game?
Yeah. So, you know, I think Nintendo just has this treasure trove of games that they're just done and ready to just...
Probably just waiting for the Mario movie to release it.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's a fantastic point, because you look at the games they announced during this Direct... That feels like they had
100%. They were leaning on the hype from the Mario movie success, with front-loading all of that Mario stuff. I mean, they announced Luigi's Mansion isn't coming out till next year, I don't believe, and that Peach game I don't think is coming out till next year either. So they announced 2 Mario games coming out next year as well, just because the movie's so close.
Yeah, like the only thing that kind of gets me is they didn't show off Donkey Kong. Like. They showed off a Peach game, a Yoshi, sort of, you know, they showed off 2 Mario games, both of which have playable Peach in it, and other Mario characters. I mean, they also have playable Luigi, a Luigi game and a Peach game. Like, so it was very clearly like, oh, did you love the main characters in the Mario movie? Well, guess what? Here's games with all of them, which is crazy, except for Donkey Kong, which is another game we've been kind of like, at some point,
maybe Donkey Kong will be a 3D platformer for Switch 2.
Maybe it'll be a 3D platformer for Switch 1. Get ready.
Maybe it's
Maybe
gonna
for
be
both.
maybe it's gonna be Donkey Kong Jungle in VR. I don't know.
VR.
Yeah.
Labo VR coming back.
What if? That'd be cool. Yeah, I mean,
I wish.
all I believe is that the Donkey Kong game is real, and I don't think we know what it is. I remember when the rumors came out, some were saying, oh, they think it's 2D. I don't think we know what it is. If some of you remember a few months ago, there was discussion on this Activision Donkey Kong Freedom was a
Yep.
code name, and then there was a fan video of that because they had heard about Donkey Kong Freedom beforehand, and they confirmed everything. But that was like an open world Donkey Kong game, and Activision was actually working on this project before they moved on from it. And then Nintendo took up the project, and they were like, okay, we're gonna start working on a Donkey Kong game. But we don't know what the Donkey Kong game is. But what I think what's interesting about that product that is canceled is that they wanted to make an open world Donkey Kong game. It was greenlit temporarily. Now that doesn't mean that this next Donkey Kong, the actual Donkey Kong game that we will eventually get from Nintendo is going to be that. But I think what it suggests is that Nintendo is open to doing more than just a typical 2D side scroller. It may be a side scroller, and it may be amazing because I mean, the last two Donkey Kong games are side scrollers, and they're arguably some of the greatest side scrollers ever made. So I'll be okay with that.
You say the last two Donkey Kong games, every Donkey Kong game except Donkey Kong 64. Was a 2D
I'm just
platformer.
referring to the retro Donkey Kong games, specifically Tropical Freeze. Like most people who've played that are like, yeah, it's like one of the best platformers ever.
It's my favorite platformer.
But what's interesting is that an EPD made like an internally developed Nintendo game, Donkey Kong. That would be actually Nintendo's done that before. That was the Jungle Beat on the GameCube, and that was a pretty good game. That team went on to make the Galaxy games afterwards, which are like masterpieces. So like that would be amazing. I don't know what it's gonna be. That's all I'm saying. That I think the canceled project shows that the jury's out on what this Donkey Kong game will be. But I do think it's in development. It's just kind of like Nintendo's waiting. I feel like next year's got to be it because the Donkey Kong expansion's coming out soon for the Universal Studios, Super Nintendo World. But I don't know. Nintendo does a really great job of just having games, as we've been discussing throughout this live stream, and just not showing them off until whenever they choose to.
Yeah, it feels like, especially since COVID, that's more true than ever. They just finish games and sit on them for actually years.
It's crazy. Like
it's so interesting because I love PlayStation and Xbox as well, and just no other company treats their lineup like Nintendo does.
Did you
Fire Emblem Engage was just sad one for a year. That's so weird.
Prime Remastered, we have hard evidence that that game was done in summer of 2021. It was rated in summer of 2021.
It's crazy.
It's insane. I haven't looked into this yet, but I heard that Nintendo actually advised Ubisoft to not release Sparks of Hope until later. And they didn't do it, and now they're disappointed with the sales.
Well, specifically, they wanted them to release it on the next console.
Yeah, a lot of people were interpreting that as, oh, that means the Switch 2 is, because if that game came out in October of 2022, that means Switch 2 is this year or something, because they wouldn't tell them to wait like a super long time. I think that was more so from like a green light point, like maybe you shouldn't even make this right now. Maybe this is just a bad idea to begin with. But who knows? Yeah, that was very weird for the Ubisoft CEO to just say that.
Yeah.
Too.
It almost feels like something he shouldn't be saying.
Yeah, that's also possible.
Very weird.
But it's interesting that Nintendo would be advising their partners to do that, because we see that they're very comfortable with sitting on games now. Like it's kind of what's interesting. It's clearly a luxury because not many devs can afford to just sit on games for a year or two. A lot of devs, they need their game to come out as soon as possible because it's make it or break it. Like, you know, like that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and outside Nintendo, we've been seeing a lot of quality loss just across the industry. Just games coming out and just being horrible in terms of like polish and optimization, especially on PC. PC ports are just like really trash. and games are just coming out and being absolutely panned for performance issues, and not because the game is bad. Some of them are bad, but a lot of them are actually good games, and people want to really enjoy them. Like Jedi Survivor is a recent one that came out. It's actually really good, but it has a ton of issues on pretty much every platform. So I think Nintendo is very smart to sit on these games and just polish them up and finish them and wait till they're good to release them, and don't rush games, because we're seeing the rest of the industry do it, and it's being absolutely catastrophic.
Yeah. So Nintendo is polishing Prime 4, so when it comes out, it's a masterpiece.
Well, I mean, it's a Retro Studios game, so of course it's going to be polished.
Yeah, but it also may take 10 years for it to come out.
We're more than halfway there.
Yeah, there we
Yeah,
go.
yeah. I mean, by this holiday, it will be like 5 years since the restart, because we assume
Yeah.
it happened sometime late 2018, and they announced in 2019.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
is crazy.
joking aside, I mean, as I already mentioned earlier, I think the game is at least in the phase that Tears of the Kingdom was in this last year, where Nintendo was just polishing it up. So I think it's basically
Seems
done.
likely.
I can't, you take my word for it or don't. That's fine. I'm just telling you what I've heard. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I got a super chat here. Let me get to that. Samuel A, thank you for the super chat, buddy. So what's the consensus on Switch 2? As a guy who is campaigning on late 2023, I'm now going to say holiday 2024 is the best bet. We sort of touched on it already. But Bo, you mentioned that you're thinking like that's like the early window, but you're thinking maybe early 2025. Like, what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I think it was around the time last year when Switch Sports was announced. I think it was Furukawa made a statement saying that the Switch is around the halfway point in its life cycle. And a lot of people took that to mean, oh, it's going to be like 3DS cross-gen, like 3 years after, we'll be getting Switch games, but like lower quality or lower,
Sure.
like ports and stuff, right? I think with how successful the Switch has been, and especially seeing a game like Mario Bros. Wonder come out, and even having Tears of the Kingdom come out, not necessarily at the end of the life cycle, but a year and a half out, let's say, I feel like that shows an effort to just keep it going for a little bit longer. I think another point too is, and I think this goes for all three of the console manufacturers, although there was maybe some stuff with the FTC suggesting not for PS5 and Xbox, but I think COVID also delayed things pretty considerably.
Yeah, it's thrown everything for a loop.
Right. So once again, late 2024, early 2025, not really that different. In the grand scheme of things, it might sound like, oh man, 2025, that's so far away, but it's only going to be a couple extra months. I just think the Switch, while yes, hardware is slowing down, software is still breaking records with Splatoon 3, Pokemon, and Tears of the Kingdom, and Mario is probably going to do similarly. I feel like there's enough juice in it to just keep it going. I love the idealistic world of Nintendo perfectly transitioning. We get Switch 2. I would love if Switch 2 came out this year. I'm a consumer. I want to buy more Nintendo product, right?
Yeah.
That would be perfect if they do the perfect transition. We get Prime 4 this holiday. It'd be beautiful. Tears of the Kingdom 4K, wonderful.
Yeah.
Nintendo is not this idealistic company that everybody wants them to be at times. They usually let things drag a little bit, and while I don't think they're going to let it drag as much this time around, I do think by the end of 2024, if Switch 2 is coming in 2025, we're going to be sitting there playing Dark Moon, and we're going to be like, man, this is what we're playing right now. We're going to have like a couple month period where it's like, okay, this is definitely end of life. And similar things like Fire Emblem 4 Remake, which, I mean, I'm still excited for these things, but they are potentially of an end of life cycle kind of thing. But then we have the Peach game, which I really don't think indicates that. And I would love to get into that later too, of who we think is developing the Peach game, because that does not seem like a low budget effort to me. That seems like something they could have easily saved for Switch 2. But I don't know. I'm so torn on the release date at this point. The only thing I'm 100% confident in is it's not coming out in early 2024. I think that is a pretty safe bet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not very confident in early 2024 either. Yeah. I would suggest holiday. I'm not very confident of them releasing it early in the year again. Just don't see why they
I think
would.
Ideally a system comes out for the holiday, because that's usually the best time to do sales. But of course, in this generation, Nintendo's proven that they can release something whenever, and it does sell really well. But there is a reason why most hardware comes out towards the holiday.
The Switch wasn't even intended for its March release date. It was intended for the holiday the year before.
Yeah,
They just
but
couldn't get it out
I
then.
think they didn't have the launch lineup quite ready. Specifically,
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild, they wanted to make sure they had that Switch version ready.
Well,
I lost you, Brandon. Did you say something? Oh, I lost everything. Hold on. I don't know if you guys can hear me. All right, you guys can hear me, but it looks like Discord crashed. Just give me a second. I'm gonna reboot that. That's probably what happened. One moment. I'll bring them back in here. All right. I think Discord just crashed.
the slightest
The
tap.
slightest little tap.
Yeah,
Oh.
I think I need to go in, open it up, and
So-
like make sure the hard drives are connected. Like
My
tighter.
Discord crashed.
Oh,
his
great.
Discord crashed.
So
Did the stream crash though?
no, I don't think
Looks like it's
so.
still up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
People are saying they can hear
Okay,
us.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
all right, cool. So let me pop us back in. Of course, my face is no longer visible for whatever reason. Maybe I can get that back. Maybe.
Everyone fell asleep.
There we go. All right. Looks like we're back in business.
Wake up!
All right.
Don't fall asleep now.
All right, cool. Awesome. All right, so we're back. So I don't know what you guys are talking about while I was gone for like a minute, but Brandon, you were saying something about sort of like your release timing expectations for Switch 2.
Was I? Let's see.
That's what I remember.
I mean, oh yeah. I don't expect it to come out like early in the year. I think it's gonna come out holiday next year. I don't know. We haven't even seen any big games for next year. I'm curious, because I don't think the Peach game is as big as you're suggesting, Bo, or that you might think it is. I don't know. It just felt like a B tier kind of title, like interesting, but nothing like. I don't think they would need to save it for Switch 2 or anything.
Sure. We need to see more of it for sure.
And then Luigi's
Yeah.
Mansion is definitely like I mean, it looks a lot. I put screenshots up on Twitter. It looks a lot better than 3DS version, but it doesn't look anywhere near as good as like Luigi's Mansion 3. I
No.
expect those probably will come out pretty early in the year.
Yeah, it's weird they didn't give him a date. I think that
It is
Luigi's
strange.
Mansion game could be January. Like I
But
imagine that's
that
probably
game was
coming out soon.
the build that they were running had a lot of very obvious frame rate issues, which is strange because the game didn't look like it was pushing Switch or anything. So
Yeah.
I think that game still seems like it might be kind of early in development, or at least the build they're showing was.
Yeah. The Peach game is definitely it's interesting for a lot of reasons, right? Not even just in terms of like the Switch 2 discussion, like just as a game, I'm very interested in what this game is.
Yeah.
My first thought is that it's kind of like the spiritual successor to Super Princess Peach. But obviously with modern hardware, they can make it look really good. Now I
know
have
very little about that game.
yeah, I haven't had the opportunity to do like a deep dive analysis on it yet. I've been taking my cat to the vet multiple times. She's fine, kind of. She's actually right here in my lap, so she's sleeping on my lap right there. Oh,
Hairball
green screen
cat.
stuff, but there she is. Yeah. Yeah, so, I've been busy with moving and green screen stuff, so, like, I don't know if you guys noticed, my videos have been a little bit shorter than usual, mainly because I just had a lot going on, so I haven't had a chance to, like, really analyze the Peach stuff, right, but I've seen the trailer at least a few times, and I gotta double check, but I feel like it's obviously, it has kind of, like, I almost want to say it looks kind of like a Paper Mario game in terms of perspective, and obviously not in terms of polygons. But like it's kind of like on a stage, and it seems like while it's not quite a side scroll, I think you can move into the background to the foreground a little bit.
You can.
It's almost like it's definitely like a
Seems-
2.5D kind of experience.
Yeah.
Looking like
You seem to explore 3D space, but the camera seems to always be.
a
like,
limited.
position, like a
I guess it's a
side-scroller.
limited 3D space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like the new Little Big Planet maybe, or like no, the
Hmm.
old Little Big Planet games. Except more, you're not limited to like planes. You can just like freely move, but the camera is still like side scroller.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So first off, right? Because I understand, but where you're coming from, like, the Peach game looks pretty significant. So that game itself isn't necessarily a tell. It may not be suggesting that Switch is nearing the end of its life cycle, but like, so my perspective is that there's still going to be good games coming out at the end of Switch's life cycle. And maybe I'm being optimistic here, but I guess one of the reasons why I kind of believe what I do is that I fully believe that Nintendo's going to have a relatively smooth transition from Switch to Switch 2. I think there's going to be a lot of cross-gen titles. I think the Switch is going to be backwards compatible. I understand there's challenges, but I also think that it's worth beating out those challenges, because there's just so many great games selling on Switch. Nintendo would be foolish to just give up on that.
Yeah, I feel like they can't not do a smooth transition. I feel like anything other than a smooth transition would be maybe worse than akin to shooting themselves in the foot. I think a smooth transition basically guarantees at least a very, very good generation, if not one that competes with the original Switch. I think they can keep the momentum going and do like the same thing again for the first time. I think doing something with a whole new ecosystem where it's just Switch 2 games, you don't backwards compatible, your count doesn't cross over, your saves don't cross over. It's just a terrible, terrible idea. I think Phil Spencer said losing like the Xbox One and PS4 generation to like Sony was a big loss for them, because a lot of consumers they want their stuff to carry over, and that's a big thing that keeps them going generation to generation. And when you have to like cultivate a whole new audience from the ground up, it's extremely hard, and your chances of success are not guaranteed. So I think they should go for, like, why wait this long with Switch to then shut off the Switch when you could just put in the dev time? Because it's not impossible. It's not an impossible thing. Clearly, it's something that's worth doing and can be done. So if they're gonna wait, how long has that already been since Switch? It's over 6 years. If they're gonna wait 7+ years to release a new console, why in the world would they just throw everything away and not take the
I don't think Discord
Uh-oh.
crashed this
time
time.
teed form of success?
I lost
Cut
it
out
for
a
like
little bit
half
there.
a second or like 2 seconds. Brandon,
Oh.
can you just give me that last line, please?
Oh, let me just try to remember. I'm just saying, like, why would they throw away all of the Switch and all of their users when they can keep those users buying the games, especially if they do like a lot of cross-gen stuff? Because we're kind of asking the question, like, oh, are these big releases mean they're gonna wait for Switch 2 because they want these games to sell on Switch 1? Does it matter at all if those games also work on Switch 2 and all Switch 1 games work on Switch 2 and a lot of Switch 2 games work on Switch 1? Because the ecosystem stays alive. People are then still buying games on the original Switch and then the next Switch, as we saw with like the PS4 and Series X, or PS4 and PS5 and the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X and S. We saw that was very successful for them. And I think that Nintendo would be absolutely stupid to not do the same.
Yeah, I mean, when I say I don't think it'll have necessarily as smooth as a transition as we would like, I don't mean, oh, the Switch 2 is not going to play Switch games or have like a completely different infrastructure. I think it'll still be pretty similar, although it's also Nintendo we're talking about, where they always have some weird crap they pull out. So
Right.
You never really know.
I really hope that they don't do that this time.
I also
Yeah,
really
to be
hope
clear,
that.
I'm talking from a point of what they
Right.
should do, not what they might do.
Sure. Yeah, for me, I more worry about the software output, and then also we keep talking about cross-gen games. Nintendo doesn't do that, except for Zelda. They've
Yet.
like we're talking about
In the
Metroid
past,
Prime.
yes.
Listen, I love me some Metroid. I don't know if Metroid Prime is even big enough for them to consider wanting to do that. I'm just gonna be completely honest.
Well,
I don't know if
no,
Metroid.
I think it's a valid point because
Right.
sales-wise, I mean, you're right.
Right.
That
That hardcore audience will be there, and they'll be like, "Oh, I want to play Metroid Prime 4 on the best possible hardware," and that's great, and it'll get day one adopters for sure. But the only franchise we have like a precedent for Nintendo doing that with is Zelda, because I think it's totally possible. Let's say Switch 2 comes out October of next year. Sure, we'll probably get Pokemon games next year, like mainline Pokemon games. I don't think those will have like a Switch 2 patch. I think they'll just be playable on Switch 2, but they'll be Switch games. And maybe they'll inherently run a little bit better, like PS4 games run better on PS5, but I don't think Nintendo's going to go out of their way to like really make sure Prime 4 is just running as best as possible on Switch 2, or make sure,
I disagree with that. Specifically with
There's no
Prime
precedent
4,
for it.
just
There's no
Retro
precedent for it.
Studios. Well, Retro Studios is just the kind of developer that I think would want to do that personally. Like, they're always super ambitious and go out of their way to push the...
Yeah. I lost you again.
Imagine
Brandon.
them releasing a game.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. I'm
It's
not doing
okay.
anything.
I think we knew what you were saying though. It's just that like Retro Studios is they tend to push hardware.
They have technical pride.
Right. I mean, Prime Remastered. I know some people have debated this with me before, like Nintendo Prime, but like I know a lot of people who agree with me when I say Prime Remastered is one of, if not the best looking Switch game.
I agree.
Yeah.
Probably the most
and
technically advanced Switch game.
I had saw an interview with an ex Retro Studios dev, and they were talking about how that Prime Remastered was one of the best looking Switch games. And it's kind of impressive because they got the game to run at 60 frames per second while still doing physical based lighting, which apparently is like a really impressive thing to do on Switch on top of 60 frames per second, which is kind of why it looks so good. So I mean that just kind of speaks to the technology that Retro Studios has, and that's just the remaster, right? Like what's Prime 4 gonna do? But I'll tell you this. I think another kind of reason why I was really pulling for like a Prime 4 reveal during this direct was because I was hoping, and just for the record, I was always aware that it might not show up because it might not be a this year thing, but I was hoping it would because I think a Prime 4 had it been like the big release for this year, it would have been a grand opportunity for Prime 4 to really take advantage of that Switch audience. You wait till next year, assuming next year is when Switch 2 comes out. I think it is. Then navigating when and how to release Prime 4 is a little bit more complicated because you do have a cross-gen release. They haven't done that before aside from Zelda, so I do understand that. But I also feel that it's become a little bit more of an industry standard to do cross-gen titles. Like, that's become the norm for Sony and Microsoft. Nintendo could start to do that too. We don't know what they'll do. And I'll say that the longer that they wait, the more easy it is for them to get away with not doing that and just having straight-up exclusives. Like I'll even say that at this point, I think 3D Mario... I can't say with 100% confidence, but I think 60-40, right? So 40%, 65-35. I'm 65% confident that the next 3D Mario is a Switch 2 exclusive. And I could be wrong. Maybe that's actually 60-40.
It's reasonable.
I
would hope it is.
Because the thing is, I mean, Miyamoto was in an interview recently. Of course, take those with a grain of salt because they say a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily mean that much immediately. But he has talked about how, like, yes, they're eventually going to move on to new hardware because new hardware allows them to do more. And the next 3D Mario made specifically for a more powerful piece of hardware, there are some special things they'd be able to do with that. If they have it also for Switch, it would be held back in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So
that's definitely true.
I'm leaning towards 3D Mario being a Switch 2 exclusive, and I think the longer they wait, it's easier for them to get away with that, right? So if they wait till holiday 2024, I mean, by that point, the Switch will be more than 7.5 years old. That would be the longest running Nintendo system of all time. Even longer than NES, if I think so. So by that point. So there's not really any room for complaint, at least when you compare it to all prior generations. Like, they waited a really long time before they started a new generation with exclusives. There would still be some new games coming out for Switch, but they're it's gonna be interesting to see how they kind of handle it, because there's a few different ways they could go. It's tough, but yeah, I think there's gonna be some exclusives early on, and with Prime 4, I think it's gonna be cross-gen because, one, I think it has to come out for Switch, and then two,
Definitely.
well, okay, it's not
I
necessarily.
think it's very beneficial for Nintendo to come out with patches for old games, or even games that have come out very recently, because it sells you on the Switch 2. Because why are people gonna buy a Switch 2 if it doesn't make a big jump? But it also just gives boosts to your games, and Nintendo games will sell again. It's not like some games are very irrelevant years after. A Nintendo game can become relevant again with a patch very easily and sell millions more, or at least hundreds of thousands of units more.
It is a little
and give
different
boosts
though.
to both the Switch 2 and the games that they're updating. But I don't think it's going to happen for every single game, obviously.
Like, I think Tears of the Kingdom is going to have a Switch 2 update. But
I 100% do.
Will we call that cross-gen? Does that make it cross-gen if it gets an update later on?
No.
Well, Prime 4 might come out before Switch 2 comes out, and they might have an update for Switch 2 when it arrives. So that's where I'm kind of divided on. Like, either it's Prime 4 before Switch 2 and it gets an update to run better on Switch 2, or it's just straight up cross-gen and it comes out. I'm going to say probably not launch day. I think that's probably 3D Mario, but launch window. So it's tough. But I think we're seeing both next year. We'll see, though. I think we should move on, though, just because we kind of been going in circles with this. Somebody check on the chat here, and we'll start talking about a few other things. So Taker610 with a super chat. Thank you, buddy, for that super chat. Nintendo hasn't been able to follow up successful systems with a similar iteration, such as NES to SNES, Wii to Wii U, and 3DS to 3DS. Peaks and valleys. That is another thing. The longer they wait, the more antsy I get about them trying to maintain momentum. And maybe it's a foregone conclusion that they just won't. And we just have to accept that. That is tough. Although everything that they've done with Switch has been impressive. I think, and not even just with Switch, just during the Switch era. So, like, for example, the Mario movie, for example, that's extremely successful. Some of the mobile offerings have been extremely successful. Not all of them. But the point is that in this era of Nintendo, they are very popular. They're very well known. It's kind of like they've almost fixed a little bit of like their branding, because I think for years their branding was marred in different ways. Like, there is the whole GameCube Kitty era, right? And then the Wii era, people didn't necessarily take them seriously as being able to make hardcore games. And now they've kind of reached a happy middle ground where they are for everyone, but most people know that they have a lot of variety and their brand is strong. So I think Switch 2 has a great chance to be a pretty successful system. Probably not as successful as Switch 2. So I understand why Nintendo may want to kind of be cautious about how they go over, but also it's kind of like sometimes being too cautious, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like, if you're too worried about something, inevitably it'll kind of hurt whatever it is you're trying to protect. So there is a middle ground. So we'll see. I think this year they're fine. Tears of the Kingdom and 2D Mario are going to sell gangbangers. If they do a price drop, I know that they don't want to because of the pricing of their hardware right now and inflation. If you account for inflation, the fact that it hasn't gone up in price, it kind of is a price drop.
Yeah, I mean, PS5 and just now revealed the Xbox is also getting price increases in a lot of countries. So I don't see Nintendo dropping the price until their actual next system comes out. And depending on how they price that system, they still might not drop the price.
Yeah. And I think if Switch 2, for the love of God, it better be backwards compatible. By dropping the price of the Switch 1, you're hurting Switch 2, because then people can just buy that to play Mario Bros. Wonder. Whereas I feel like there's more incentive to buy the more expensive Switch 2 if it's not that much more expensive than Switch 1. I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like the Switch Lite already exists, so there's already a very cheap entry point. But let's say they drop the OG Switch to $200, right, or $250. I feel like more parents would be willing to just buy that instead of the, let's say, $400 Switch 2. But I don't know.
there's a lot of stuff that Nintendo has to figure out. So,
Yeah.
But like, I mean, OLED is the best-selling version of Switch, and obviously it's the newest. But you know, if you're gonna buy a Switch for $300, I think for a lot of people they're thinking, well, might as well just spend the extra 50 and get the OLED version because it's a better version for $50.
I always tell people that.
Yeah.
But it's also, you know, if you play on TV a lot, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, if you play in handheld mode, though, for sure.
Yeah. Shout outs to Rob, Rule 2 Review in the chat. What's up, buddy? Rob has a few different things to say here, but this is interesting because I do want to kind of come back to this. Rob says, yeah, I see Peach as Yoshi meets Kirby in terms of 2D gameplay. Has great potential for a fun little spin-off. So, like, Bo, I know you kind of, like, see it as potentially, like, a bigger thing. I don't know what the sales will be, you know? I mean, it's also kind of like, what is a small thing? What is the big thing? But I think, my take is that the Peach game is probably, it's not like a AAA effort, right? But it's still going to be a quality release that'll come out sometime next year.
Sure. I think, yeah, when I say it's a bigger release, I'm not talking, 15 million. But it depends on who's developing it as well. I
Sure.
want to say Next Level's making it, which is one of Nintendo's best
Yeah.
studios.
Yeah, they're really
It
good.
could also be Intelligent Systems. People think that is possible as well, which
I
you
can
mentioned
see
Paper
that.
Mario.
I can see
So
that.
either way, two of their more prominent studios / partners, because I feel like the Peach game could do 5 to 7 million. I think it'll sell better than a Yoshi game or a Kirby game.
Maybe.
It's fully dependent on how much success the Mario movie translates into sales. But
Yeah.
I think this game could be really big. But we've seen so
Maybe.
little of it. It's hard to truly determine. But I think it could be pretty big. On that like you said, B tier Nintendo energy.
Yeah. I'm just looking. I'm trying to figure out what studio it would be. Because I'm looking at Intelligent Systems, right? So they came out with 3 Houses in 2019. They had help with that. Origami King in 2020, WarioWare in 2021, and now Fire Emblem Engage and WarioWare Move It in 2023.
They seem busy.
But I'm
And Fire Emblem 4 remake almost certainly happening.
Yeah, so I'm skeptical that the Peach game is Intelligent Systems, just because they have 2 games coming out this year, and if they are involved in Genealogy War next year, it doesn't seem likely that they're the ones behind the Peach game. But it's not. I mean, they for example, this year they came out with 2 games, but to have back-to-back years where they come out with 2 games, I'm not sure. Because you look at, they've had a release almost every single year, except for last year during the Switch era. So they've been busy, but I see them averaging about a game per year, not going above that. So I don't know, especially Genealogy Wars, they have something behind. I'm not sure they can be the ones that are working on the Peach game. Next Level Games is interesting, because I feel like they could pull that off, but so this is something that I can't say with 100% certainty. There are some rumors, and some people have told me this, but I can't fully validate it, so I can't say with 100% certainty. But I've heard that Next Level Games is responsible for the F-Zero GX remaster, which I think implies that it's going to be like a big boy remaster, right? It's not just going to be like an upscale, which is exciting. But if they're behind that, could they also be behind this Peach game? I think actually they could be, because a remaster still doesn't take as much effort as a full-on new game. And if this Peach game may be like a smaller effort than, let's say, for example, Luigi's Mansion 3, then conceivably I could see them maybe doing both at the same time. I think that's feasible. Their output is lesser than Intelligent Systems. They came out with Strikers last year and then Luigi's Mansion in 2019. It's almost like every 3 years. So maybe we shouldn't expect anything from them until 2025. But the F-Zero GX remaster, with it being a remaster, they could probably put that out a little bit quicker. But could they be working on that and the Peach game that's coming out next year? I'm also skeptical. But of course, that's assuming I'm right about them working at Next Level. I don't know if they are, right? That's just the rumor. That's what some people have told me. I can't say that with 100% certainty. So maybe it is them. But, Nintendo has other studios. It's not just them. It also could be a partnership, right? Like they could have partnered with a third-party studio that would be pretty good at it.
I just don't know who else would.
Right.
If you really look at the trailer, it to me it looks like next level animations and like character models and lighting and all these things. I'm not a tech expert. I'm not going to analyze the actual shadows coming off of Peach's dress, but it just screamed to me like, oh, this looks like a next level game.
I mean, it could be a joint effort too, right? So like,
sure,
and that opens up the door for maybe them using their engine, their animation work, while still also being able to work on other things, and then another studio could be helping out.
It could also be internal, which I think would maybe suggest it's even bigger than we think.
There's like what, like 12 Nintendo and PD teams?
Yeah, they have 1 million teams. So.
Right, so yeah, like that's kind of like an easy. Well, might be one of the other.
Answer.
Yeah, yeah.
Might be one of the 30 EPD teams.
Watch It Be Retro Studios. This is the game they've been working on.
This is what they've been. Yeah, this is what they've been polishing.
Yeah, for the last 10 years.
It'll sell better than Metroid Prime.
Maybe. I think Prime 4 is gonna really pop. I think Nintendo...
I hope so.
Yeah, we don't know that for a fact, to your point, but I feel like, I mean, Metroid Dread did good. 3 million is no slouch, right? Like
that's the best-selling Metroid game, right?
It is. I mean, that's more than the Xenoblade series. That is comparable to the best in the Fire Emblem series. So like, if Metroid's at that level, that's totally fine because we get Metroid and we get Fire Emblem and Xenoblade games on the regular. So if that's it, I'm okay with that because that means okay, so we'll get Metroid games on the regular just like those series, and that would be totally fine. But that's 2D Metroid, not Metroid Prime. It's a different gameplay style, and I feel like usually the open games tend to sell more on Switch. There's exceptions, which brings me to the next topic I want to kind of bring up here. Super Mario Bros. Wonder. How well do we think this game is going to perform? Like, do we think this game is going to outsell Super Mario Odyssey, which is over 25 million?
Yeah, easily.
By the end of the year.
By the end of the year?
I don't know about that.
It would be close.
This is a poll. I'm putting this as a poll.
I think it'll be 20 million by the end of the year.
All right. Let's. What should I say?
We'll know by the end of the year at least
Super
if
Mario
it's on
Bros. Wonder
Yeah.
outsell Mario Odyssey, which is above 25 million.
For context, for chat, for anybody that doesn't know, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, the port of the 2012 Wii U game, has sold over 15 million copies. So I would hope this does substantially better. Now it is coming out much later in the Switch's life cycle, and I think I mentioned this earlier. If Switch 2 comes out late next year and it maybe hurts Switch 1 software, that could really hurt it because this is a more evergreen title, like a Mario Kart, like a Smash Bros. So it might not get a ton of sales right off the bat. It could be like a slower burn a little bit, but it's harder to predict with this too because Mario's so family friendly. You know, you can look at Tears of the Kid. I'm like, oh, that's gonna do really well because it's the core Nintendo audience, it's the core gaming audience. Mario's a coin flip. At least in terms of how much it's gonna be when you're talking 20 to 30 million. I think 20 million is like baseline though for this game.
Yeah.
2D Mario games sell like crazy, and with the Mario movie, everybody's like super hyped on Mario right now. I wouldn't be surprised. I just saw Tears of the Kingdom. I was going to check. It sold about 10 million in 3 days. I wouldn't be surprised if this game sells like 20 million in its first week.
I think that might be a little bit much.
I don't know.
But
I mean, holiday sales though. There's gonna be the holiday bump. Like that's actually something crazy about Tears of the Kingdom. So Tears of the Kingdom sales are in May, right? Like
when games don't release.
Its sales pace has competed with Scarlet and Violet, which is the fastest selling game of all time. Fastest selling like exclusive at least, and that was during the holidays. So the fact that Tears of the Kingdom has competed with that and been like neck and neck at last I checked, that's extraordinary. So Mario Bros. Wonder, I'm not sure, but it definitely has that potential. Like I definitely see where you guys are coming from. Brandon, you're like really high on this.
I don't think I'm that much.
I mean,
maybe a little bit.
You're higher than us at least.
Yeah, but I mean, do you think it will at least sell as well as Tears of the Kingdom, like as quickly?
I think Mario
that's-
Bros. Wonder is pretty much guaranteed to sell 20 million plus.
I mean,
But it's obviously Tears of the Kingdom. I think where it's pacing, it's gonna outsell Breath of the Wild. But of course, we don't know if there's gonna be a drop off, right? Like there may be a drop off soon. But given that we haven't even experienced a holiday for Tears of the Kingdom or DLC or potentially Switch 2 kind of update boost, like there's opportunity for Tears of the Kingdom to have legs and to really catch up to Breath of the Wild. Mario Bros. Wonder, I mean, it's gonna have the Mario movie popularity, but
I mean,
Bo, as you brought up earlier,
as Bo was saying, New Super Mario Brothers Wii U Deluxe, I think that's the full name, has sold like 15 million copies. It sold extremely well, and like, it came out at a time where people did not want a new, like the core Nintendo fans did not want a new style Mario game. We're done with that. We're over that. We've been over that for so long. We want something new, and that's still sold like fucking hotcakes. So I can't imagine how good like an actual like good looking 2D Mario game will sell after the hype of the Mario movie and everything.
so,
That's kind of where I'm getting my
I'm
feelings from.
looking at the best selling Switch games, right? So
It's in the top 10, right? New Soup.
It was at least.
NSMBU is at 15.41 million. Yeah, and then the next Mario game, if you want to count Luigi's Mansion, is at 12.8. But something with Mario in the title, 3D World was at 11.38. And they came out. NSMBU came out first. Like NSMBU has been out for longer, but
There's a 2-year gap.
yeah, it's a 2-year gap. I don't think 3D World's gonna catch up to NSMBU. I don't think that's the case. So yeah, I mean that a port of a Wii U game outsold a 3D port of. I would argue that Bowser's Fury, at least for me, was that's a bigger
historically,
deal.
I think 2D Mario games have always sold better than the 3D counterparts every generation.
And that's what's interesting about this era, because like this era, it almost feels like Mario Odyssey's like finally like a 3D Mario gets the love it deserves, right? Like but NSMBU is technically not an original Mario game.
Yeah.
So
No.
Odyssey was competing with itself.
yeah, it's a little tricky. But on the flip side, not many people played. I mean, obviously a lot of people played it for on Wii U, but because there aren't that many people who owned a Wii U, there's still like a lot. It's why a lot of Wii U ports do really well, because it's such a large new audience that will buy it for the first time on Switch.
The Wii game with different levels.
That's another angle. It's because NSMBU.
And that game sold like 30, 40 million copies.
Yeah, it is crazy. So the new series has been around for a long time and always sold extremely well. So now they're gonna finally do something that's like a fresh take on that.
There's just 2 possibilities in my mind. It either does extremely well, or people don't buy it as much because they don't recognize it as much.
I just don't. I don't know. Like NSMBU's at 15, Mario Odyssey's at 25. Like 25 is a pretty healthy amount. And it's not like Mario Odyssey doesn't sell anymore, right? Like I think Mario Odyssey is gonna hit 26 sooner or later. Especially, every time there's something new Mario, it makes you want to play other Mario games, right? So Mario Bros. Wonder, in a way, is going to help Mario Odyssey sell a little bit too.
I'll be curious to see the bump next quarter for the sales data from the Mario movie.
Yeah,
we might see a bump in like 3D World and more sales for New Super Mario Bros. U as well.
That's a good point. I doubt it's going to go up to like 27, but I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
It could, but yeah, more than it has been for the past couple years.
Yeah. I'm personally not convinced it'll pass 25 just because that's such a high number and Mario Odyssey's been selling for so many years. But I think it's gonna get close. I think it's at least gonna hit 20, and it's gonna hit 20 in less than a year. Brandon, maybe even hits it by the end of the holiday. Like that, it's totally possible.
I think it's possible.
You know what? I kind of like talking myself into it. Like if it hits 20 by the end of the year, it just has to get like 5 million more.
I'll adjust my previous statements to something a little more reasonable. 15 million in its first week. Keep in mind, Tears of the Kingdom sold 10 million in 3 days, so it's not that crazy. $20 million by the end of the year. 25. I'm gonna say it ends at somewhere around close to 30 million in its lifetime. I think it will pass Mario Odyssey. The only thing is, like you're saying, Bo, the new system, depending on how they deal with that, especially if it launches with a 3D Mario, that could change things. But I think it's got a chance at 30 million plus.
What is Scarlet and Violet at right now?
A lot.
Does anybody know? It's like 23, right?
Yeah, let me double check for
Pretty
you.
much for the quality of that game.
22 million according to this as of March 31st, 2023.
I think 20 million is possible then this year for Wonder. Because I'm pretty sure Scarlet and Violet sales actually kind of dropped off a little bit more than people were expecting, I believe.
Oh, that's not surprising after
No.
people saw the quality of the game.
No, it's not surprising.
So what is surprising is how much it has sold despite that. I guess that's just the power of the Pokemon brand.
I
I feel
warn
like
people.
it's the only brand that could survive such a game.
The marketing of the Switch 2 is going to play a big part in how well this game sells. Because
yeah.
if Mario Bros. Wonder is on store shelves, if you can walk into Walmart and buy it for the next 7 years and just play it on Switch 2, this game's selling 50 million copies.
Oh yeah.
If they're gonna position this as not only the 2D Mario for the end of the Switch's life, but also the 2D Mario for like the first 5 years of Switch 2, oh yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I don't
this is
see them
50
coming
million.
out with a new 2D Mario for
No.
a while. I mean, it's 10 years since the last one, and I don't see them just being like, yep, we came out with this great new crazy 2D Mario game 10 years since the last game, and a year and a half, 2 years later, you're not going to play it on a current Nintendo system.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, how Nintendo it is gonna be very interesting to see how Nintendo like markets things and does this transition, because I mean they can do like a 4K update, which will be pretty basic for Mario Bros. Wonder, and then give us DLC, and that game's. I'm excited for the game. Like in fact, I think we all agree it's gonna sell really well. Maybe you're right. Maybe it does beat Mario Odyssey. I am kind of thinking as we talk through it. I think you guys are probably right. It will outsell Mario Odyssey, and it won't take that long, unless Nintendo just shuts it down next year. But I don't think they will. I think they're gonna be smart about maintaining these Switch sales. So I think it's gonna happen. But let's just talk about the game itself, because it's great, right? Like as we kind of like think on it, like I'm kind of getting excited because there's a lot of things about this game that have me more excited for a 2D Mario than I think I've ever been. Like it's kind of giving me like Super Mario World vibes for me, and because I'm just talking about like from like a nostalgia factor, because I remember Super Mario World when I was a kid, right? And just kind of like seeing that game, it was such a cool. I think that was the game that they had in the hotels too, which was interesting. Because I didn't actually have a Super Nintendo. My first Nintendo system was an N64, so I didn't get to play Mario World like more significantly until later on into life. But I would always kind of see it
in a hotel.
Yeah, but they have Mario World in the hotels.
They used to have video games in hotels.
Brandon, you are way younger than me.
This is crazy.
Yeah, they put a little system.
I didn't get any video games in my hotels. I would have
Yeah.
loved an N64 or
Yeah.
GameCube. What the heck?
Your McDonald's kiosk.
Yeah, that's fair. You can go to McDonald's.
Yeah,
Can't even
those
go
are
to
cool.
Walmart and see demos anymore.
You could play Diddy Kong Racing at McDonald's. That was awesome as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But point is that I had such a nostalgia. I do have a nostalgia for Mario World, even though I didn't own it as a young kid, because you would see it all around. It was a big game back in the day. And then like some of the designs, like this is a new art style that they're having, but like you look at Yoshi, for example, like that Yoshi design reminds me of like the old Yoshi designs from the old Mario games, and it kind of
he's got strange proportions. His head's kind of strange too.
And what was crazy about that, right, is like, yes, it was a 2D game. I think sometimes 2D games get a bad rap, just because 3D games are obviously bigger, more, they seem more exciting, but some of the best games in history are 2D games, right? Like Metroid Dread is a 2D game, and that was my favorite game of 2021. I'm excited for this new Sonic game that's coming out. I think the Prince of Persia game is looking pretty good too. Like 2D games can be an amazing adventure, and I think sometimes more modern gamers may lose sight of that or not be aware of that because of all the 3D stuff. Like sometimes 2D games can be an amazing adventure. And when I think about my memories of Mario World and also Mario Bros 3, for example, like I'm looking at Wonder, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be like that. Like this is gonna be an escape for me. Like this is this whole new world that has like this really nice new art style with it, with a lot of love and attention to detail. You look at all the animations, like when Mario goes through the warp pipe, he pulls his hat with him.
Yeah.
Right? There's so much facial expressions here. Like, there's a lot of tech going into this for a 2D Mario game.
I like how they're doing like what's called like decimated animations, or a lot of the animations aren't like full rate. They look like stop motion, and then other ones have like smear frames, like when his feet are doing the kind of like the full speed running in the air. I really like how they make it look like it's animation, but it's actual 3D models, and it looks really good.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Visually, this game looks incredible. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm the biggest 2D Mario fan, but also
Me either.
I think all the new Super Mario Bros. Games get a bad rap. Even 2, I think they're all pretty good. They released too many too quickly, but they're all good games.
Yeah.
This is definitely the most excited I've ever been for a 2D Mario. I think just visually, man, and just like the wacky stuff they're doing with like the weird squiggling pipes and the what is it, the Wonder Seed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because I grew up playing World as well, and even like Super Mario Bros. 1 and 3 on GBA. This is really the first time I've seen this is the first time we've gotten a new 2D Mario game
That looks new.
in 20 years. It's a big deal.
Yeah, because the new series is just. I never.
It's fine.
It's exactly fine.
It is the definition of fine. It passes like the test. Like it's okay.
Like,
but this is actually exciting.
And it's weird because like
Sterile.
I 100% did new Super Mario Brothers U. Not I didn't buy the deluxe version because I already beat the game. But like it was a good
You
game.
don't want Peachette?
I didn't need that. I didn't need that in my life. But it's a good game, but it's nothing that's like super memorable, I guess. A cookie cutter, I think, is like a really good description for it, because
I think the most memorable part of New Super Mario Brothers Wii U was the
blocks.
Starry Night
yes, that was a good one.
I think those were really cool. And that was like the only hint of inspiration, and it's freaking stolen from somebody else's painting.
It sucks. It sucks because if New Super Mario Bros. U was the only New Super Mario Bros. Game, people would be loving it. Like, it's just because they released so many so quickly.
Right.
It just got so, too much.
If there wasn't like the one on
one.
DS, the sequel that was on DS or 3D, like, there were so many.
Infamously came out like 2 months before, I think. New Super Mario Bros. U. I don't know what they were thinking there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I
Horrible.
think that it'd be fine, but I still think they're pretty generic games in general, especially if you compare them to like the 3D adventures. Those have a lot more creativity in them. I always thought. I haven't actually ever been hyped for a new 2D Mario game because I've only lived through the area where the new games were new games, as far as I can remember, and I've never liked the new series, even back on like the Wii. Especially one thing that really excites me about Mario Wonders, I used to play on the Wii the multiplayer on a New Super Mario Bros. Wii. And multiplayer in the new games is, in my opinion, some people might have fun with it, but it is the most annoying, obnoxious crap. Like, just bouncing on each other's heads, constantly ruining each other's jumps, just constantly having to, like, try to stay out of each other's way, and also, like, make sure you're not going too fast and, like, pushing other people off screen. It was, like, really bad. But in Mario Wonder, I saw you just pass through everybody like you don't exist, and it's great.
Do you? I didn't notice that.
Yes.
That's
I'm like,
wonderful.
Yeah.
thank
Pun intended.
God.
Multiplayer's
It looks like
better.
it'll actually be a fun multiplayer adventure, and that has me really excited.
There is something that I've noticed that doesn't have me very excited about it. If you go to like the Nintendo listing for it, I think it talks about the multiplayer being local, which is great. But the fact that they specify local, I think suggests that it's not going to have online multiplayer, and I hope I'm wrong about that. But we've seen Nintendo do this so many times.
No.
So Brandon,
normally, if a game has online, it says online, Switch Online required or something in the trailer, and didn't say that. So yeah, it probably is local only. Which, come on. How?
But why?
It's 2023, bro.
I don't
3D World had online.
Like,
it wasn't good.
So
but they had it.
My problem with this is that I feel like part of it and I could be mistaken, but I feel, and I understand feelings only mean so much, but I kind of get the sense that sometimes Nintendo does this because they want to prioritize the local play. But what about online would take away from that is my question. Like, I would love to. I'm going to play Mario Bros. Wonder with some family and friends if they're nearby, but it's going to be better to play it with people that I know will love it. Like, what if I got to play Mario Bros. Wonder with Bo and Brandon? That would be wonderful. But we probably won't. You know, like it's
Yeah.
It took them how long to add online multiplayer to Mario Party?
God. We finally have it, and they're finally
Nuts.
actually releasing it like day and date.
Nuts.
But not this game, not this Mario game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say the only other thing about the visuals that disappoint me is something about the new games that I never really liked. Is that like the backgrounds have depth, but the foregrounds are all like flat objects. Like everything's super flat, and they didn't add any like depth there to the like the actual platforms that you're on.
There are some scenes.
I kind of feel like it might be so that they can add it to like I wonder if they want to add it to Mario Maker. I feel like it would be easier to add to Mario Maker using the same kind of like pattern because it looks a lot less generic because I do feel like New Super Mario Bros. Levels a lot of times look like levels that are made in Mario Maker sometimes. These don't look like that a lot of the time, but there are some areas where I'm like, that's a repeating tiled texture that you could have made in like Mario Maker. So I don't know. That does kind of disappoint me, but I don't know.
Yeah, a big thing for me with this game, which remains to be seen, is how often they reuse level themes. Something I'm not the hugest Tropical Freeze fan, but I think it's a great game still. Just not like my favorite 2D platformer, but that game does level variety beautifully.
Oh yeah.
I hope we don't see 8 water levels in a row and like a beach theme. I don't want to see that in this game. Like even Crafted World did really well with that and just having weird variety after variety after variety. I hope Mario Bros. Wonder just has new ideas constantly each level.
So
that's my main hope.
What's interesting about that is that have you noticed that they're not doing this in the Mushroom Kingdom?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I believe, and I made a video about this, but like it looks like the first level you'll see Mario leaving on the Mushroom Kingdom. Like you'll see the Mushroom Kingdom in the background as you're kind of entering into the Flower Kingdom, and when you go to the world map it says welcome to the Flower Kingdom. And you also notice that all like the toad houses, they're not toad houses, they're flower houses with flower people with like buds for heads. So it looks like it's taking place in a different kingdom. And what's interesting about that is that kind of facilitates going away from the typical sort of like Mario areas and just trying to do something different. So I hope, they kind of stick to that and each world feels varied. Yeah,
I mean, just from this trailer, I think we maybe see 5 levels. I'm not sure. I would have to count.
I have to double check, but there's a few.
The amount of variety visually and also in terms of enemies was really impressive in this trailer. Whether or not that holds up in, a 15-hour campaign remains to be seen, but the amount of new stuff in this game is making me very happy. Because even with the new Super Mario Bros. Series, you get Pokies. Those are from, Mario 2? Like, they're not really new even then. This is the first time we've had, like, a full new slate of enemies in a 2D Mario game. I guess, like, 3D Mario pretty regularly has new stuff, but this is a breath of fresh air Mario needed. Yeah. And I'm here for it, man. It
like
looks
we're seeing the same amount of creativity that we see poured into 3D games now into the 2D games, and it's really refreshing to see.
Yeah,
because I think 2D games, as you were saying before, Andres, they get kind of a bad rap these days. I saw a 2D game announced for Xbox that people were dogging on the price because it was full price, just because it was 2D.
Even Dread, when that came out, people were.
Yeah, I mean, and that's even a Nintendo thing. So even on Nintendo, people are kind of like, 2D is inherently worse. And I'm not like always the biggest 2D fan. Like I definitely enjoy the 2D or the 3D games way more than the 2D games. But that's also because the 2D games have been the new style, which I do not enjoy personally. So I'm hopeful for this one. I'm excited, but it is kind of like just to touch on the Direct as a whole. This was kind of like the biggest game shown. and it's not like a super huge game for me. Like I'm hopeful that I'll enjoy it, but it's not something that I know that I'm going to be really invested in because I've never picked up a 2D Mario game and actually like really had a good time. Like I've never even completed a whole world consecutively because I just never felt like they were worth finishing.
That is interesting to your guys' point about this direct being kind of mid. Of course, I disagree, but with a game like Metroid Prime 4, if it had ended the direct, that game's gonna take weeks to get through and analyze and all that. At least with New Super Mario Bros., you typically get through those in a weekend. Like they're pretty short. So I just hope there's a lot of depth here and a lot of replay value and a lot of content because I can understand like for the past 3 years we've been looking at Tears of the Kingdom like, oh, this is going to be a game that takes us months to finish. We're still going through it. This is a smaller game, so I get what you're saying there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how long it's going to be, right? But you know, it is like it's a 2D game, right? So like a 2D game inherently doesn't require as much resources as a 3D game. But regardless, I'm excited for it.
It's not really even about like time for me, because like one of my favorite games that I've played in a while was Kirby's Forgotten Land, I think is the name. And that's a 3D platformer, yes, but it is a fairly short game. I mean, I could check how many hours. I have 100% of the main campaign. All I have left to do in the game is post-game stuff. I have 15 hours or more in the game. And that's like one of my favorite games in a while. So it's not really about the length. It's just like I'm not sure if I enjoy 2D Mario or not. I'm not sure if the problem is it's 2D Mario or the problem is it's New Super Mario Brothers, you know?
Sure.
But we'll see.
Yeah. Apparently the stream's cutting out a little bit. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Thing is, the internet should be really good. We have like 40 up. So normally I work with 10.
You on Wi-Fi or Ethernet?
Ethernet.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's kind of like, for the most of the stream, it was fine. And then Discord crashed, which I don't think is necessarily internet related. But, yeah. I don't know. It's being a little weird right now. You guys can still hear me, though, right?
Yeah. Everything's been fine on my end.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
Same here. Man, the stream is a little choppy, though. Unwatchable at this point, someone said.
Oof.
Uh-oh.
Is the audio coming through good at least?
I mean, I hear
it is
you
a
guys,
podcast.
though. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, well, you, but on their end.
Yeah, on the stream it's still coming through for me, but there's like no frames.
Well, yeah. I mean, as long as they can hear us.
I don't know why. Yeah, it's saying like it's going at like 15 kilobytes a second. Like that doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. Maybe is your PC downloading an update automatically or
I don't
something
know,
in the
but
background?
Apparently Discord's taking up 100% of the CPU.
Oh, great.
What? That might be a problem.
Time for an upgrade.
Alright. Well, actually,
you're in Task Manager?
Yeah. So
No, he has a pretty good PC actually now.
No.
Yeah. I actually upgraded Discord today. That might be why.
Yeah, that might be it.
Time for a downgrade then.
I would try just restarting Discord if it's taking 100% of your CPU.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yes, force close it and come back.
I'll call you.
Yep.
I'll call you guys right back. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
One moment, guys. I'm trying to fix this. Alright, is OBS going back to normal? Yeah, it looks like it might be going back to normal now. Or not. Alright, let's try it. Let's try opening this back up again. All right. I'm opening this back up. Hold on a second. Let me just quit this first. It's gonna turn off for a moment, but it'll be right back. Oh, it says it's working normal now, actually. All right. It may have just been like a weird, just stopped working for a moment. But let me get everyone back on. All right. Hello.
Yo.
Things seem to be working normal again. So.
Thanks, Discord.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we should be good to go.
Love it
now.
when tech doesn't work.
I was
Yeah.
frozen taking a sip of water. Apparently, that's great.
Yeah, it should.
This is why I don't use a face cam, though.
Yeah.
Don't have to worry.
It looks like it's working normal now, so I think we're good. Sean Singer saying the stream seems good. Awesome. Thank you guys for sticking around. You can hear you, but no image. That might just be. It'll
You're on
pop
the
up.
standby.
Might be
Yeah.
from the display.
Yeah.
You might also try starting your browser. Not just like refreshing the page. I mean, to the
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah, but anyways, it looks like things are fine. Probably just gotta catch up in terms of seeing the screen, because like I think, you should be able to see our faces already. Like everything.
Ryan said we're the Three Stooges.
Look at that. Hope you're laughing. All right. So let me just get to the chat. I'll read some questions here. So Elemental Hero, the Shadow Link, Dragon Wolf King. I always love reading your name. Andre's Restart. With many showcases, cons, and more coming out this year, will we still see Star Fox, Kid Icarus, and other games being shown this year or next year from showcases and etc.? I think as Bo highlighted earlier, like there could be like maybe one other game that's smaller that Nintendo squeezes into either August or September. But it would probably be like a Shadow Drop kind of thing or like an eShop kind of thing. I don't think we'll get like a major Star Fox game announced for this year. Now, the September Direct, that opens the door for announcements for next year. Oh, so maybe we can get announcements this year in the September Direct, but otherwise I wouldn't expect anything to be announced this year to come out this year, save for maybe like one eShop title. So, that's conceivable. But, and I guess if there's any, and I'd be thinking like a remaster, right? Like if there's going to be like a Nintendo game that just comes out of nowhere, it would probably be a remaster.
Give us Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD double pack on the eShop. Let's go.
Not
Probably
sure
not.
about that one.
I don't know about that one, Chief.
Yeah. I think we're gonna have to
I'm
wait a
not
little
saying
while.
it's
Ship to
likely.
sail.
I'm just saying I want that.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. No, I think we talked about it. F-Zero seems to be the most likely.
That would be the most hype.
Yeah.
But like,
And I
mean,
could see them doing the same thing where it gets shadow dropped and then maybe you get a physical in December if they want to keep that pattern going.
That could be. Yeah. So I mean, that would probably be like a best case scenario in terms of like, at least for me, because F-Zero is like my favorite racing franchise. But there's a slew of Nintendo games that could be like, I think the Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon game getting remastered, like that kind of feels out of left field. Like we thought maybe we'd get like a Luigi's Mansion remaster just because like the 3DS remake is a 3DS remake.
I
not
wish.
Like a Switch remake, right? So I don't know. I mean, Kid Icarus comes to mind. That's another one that might come out of nowhere. That feels like that. I just feel like the Kid Icarus one might be presented as more of a big deal just because it might need a little bit
Yeah.
more
I would
work to
hope.
kind of work.
I think, too, if that's happening, Sakurai's probably involved, so I think it would be a bigger deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think more realistically, and no one really wants to hear this or cares about this, but for one, I do think a GameCube Shadow Drop's possible, but I mentioned EPD4. Ring Fit Adventure is one of the best-selling Switch games. I think it just got knocked out of the top 10, so I could see something like that happening this year. But the core Nintendo audience doesn't care about that, so that's not fun.
I mean, the same way they just announced everybody wants to Switch randomly, like they can do that. I remember Game Builder Garage, like that was a cool announcement. Something like that could come out conceivably. That might be fun. Like Game Builder Garage was really hyped for me. I thought it was amazing.
Those are cool games.
Make games. It's something that, like, for me that's cool. So
I got my Labo down here, still in the box.
there you go. Nice. Oh, and another Nintendo Labo set.
Bring it back. Let's keep it
enjoy
going.
Like, what if they announced like a crossover, like Nintendo Labo X Star Wars or something? You build like cardboard lightsabers and you play a bunch of Star Wars mini games.
They bring back Project Giant Robot, but you put on the Varia suit.
Oh, that's our Metroid
Metroid Prime
game.
4 is actually a Labo game. That's not even a real game.
That would be Federation Force 2.0, except worse. No.
Federation Force port. Let's see it.
I actually think.
Unironically, I want that.
That would actually.
I actually do want that.
Federation Force is actually a good game. Yeah, I just think it came out at a bad time because when you're waiting like a decade to get a mainline entry and you just get a spin-off instead, that sends a bad message.
If they had swapped Samus Returns in that, I think it would have been fine. But yeah, bad timing. For
sure. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. But the other problem I had with Federation Force was more of a system issue. And it may depend on your Wi-Fi, but I didn't have Wi-Fi issues where I was at the time, but I did have Wi-Fi issues. Like I tried to play through Federation Force with a friend, and the matches would always drop. So I didn't play through it because the idea is to play with a friend, right? And it just didn't work. But on Switch, where online is, something that works a little bit better than 3DS.
Marginally better.
Yeah. You could envision playing through a game in co-op with a friend to the ending, not on 3DS. But on Switch, yeah, you could. So I think Federation Force would work really well.
Yeah.
You would have to remake it to get away with it, to get rid of the chibi
Yeah,
style. But
I don't think that they can just port it, or just like add new textures, because I think the like base polygon look of the game is just so low. I think it would look just really bad.
Maybe they'll just bring back Blast Ball as an eShop game.
I remember playing Blast Ball, playing the demo.
Classic.
E3 2015. What a terrible.
What a wonderful
terrible
E3 for everyone involved.
God.
My cat is trying to shove her head inside of my glass of water. There's not enough. No, look, you have a water bowl down there.
She's thirsty, man.
Yeah, she's on Xanax. She's acting crazy.
Xanax, she's supposed to be asleep.
Well, she was sleeping on my lap for the last hour.
Ah.
And now she's thirsty. It's not gonna fit. You can't. Just go. You have a water bowl. It's nice and clean and fresh down there. What are you doing? Go. Go down. Here, put you down. Drink down there. Go. Get down back. I know it. Yeah, there she is. Say hello, Xanax cat.
Xanax cat.
Yeah, that's right. Go. Alright. Yeah, so where were we? So that pole, Jesus. She's going nuts. She's like loopy.
Trying to be the star of the show. Trying to steal your channel from out from under you.
Yeah, now I can't see she pressed something on the keyboard and now I can't read the poll. I'll just click end to see what happens.
Nope.
Alright, so 64 votes came in. 56% said yes. 43%. They always detract 1%, but let's say 44% said no. In terms of Mario Bros. Wonder outside Mario Odyssey, which is currently above 25 million. So it's fairly split, but more people are leaning towards yes. So,
yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so let me kind of just focus on the chat here so we can get close to closing out. There's some interesting points people brought up or questions. So, Samuel A., do you think Prime 2 and 3 shall drop this September or February? I think at least Prime 2 is shall dropped in either September or February, one or the other.
Depends on when Prime 4 comes out, right?
Yeah,
I would imagine.
That's pretty much it.
Who do you think is doing these? Because we had heard that Retro wouldn't be doing 2 and 3, right? I believe. I'm not sure how that had any validity.
Well, Iron Galaxy is like the popular studio that was helping with Prime Remaster, but there was a few others as well. I don't really know, and I'm not sure. I mean, this may sound disrespectful, but I'm not sure how much of it's going to matter because I think they're going to be simple remasters, is what I think.
You don't think it'll be like Prime 1 then?
No, I don't.
Okay,
No,
I agree.
don't.
I agree.
Fortunately, not.
Yeah.
More Pikmin tier.
Yeah.
ports,
By the
which
way,
is fine.
I actually was really happy that Pikmin 1 and 2 were shadow dropped. I
Yeah, me too.
downloaded both immediately, and for $50 actually, together. So pretty nice.
Yeah, seen a lot
And
of people on Twitter learning just how brutal that game can be.
I
For both of
Like
those
the
games.
the queen ball board rolling over everybody's picking. They're like, oh no, what is this game? I thought
One
this was a
guy
cute
didn't
game.
know that Pikmin couldn't swim somehow. I don't know how.
Oh,
I'm
I
pretty
saw
sure
that
the
one,
game
yeah.
tells you that
They just all die.
like
Yeah.
40 Pikmin just drown.
I lost a lot of
Rough.
Pikmin to water, like just trying to walk through something, and because I would have a giant like herd.
The AI is not great in the first
Yeah.
game. I
It is
replayed it earlier
not.
this year. It's really not. They fix it a lot in 2.
Okay, yeah, because
Yeah.
I just 100% had Pikmin 1 over the weekend. I finished it last night. Yeah, so I finished it last night. It's good. It's awesome. I made sure to get the happy ending. Like, and the thing is, the happy ending felt a little challenging because like there was a period of time in that 30, because when you play Pikmin, if you haven't played it before, you have a 30-day window to complete the game. So you have to get all the parts. Well, you don't have to get every part, but depending on how many parts you get, that impacts what kind of ending you'll have, and there's 3 different endings. So I was like, all right, I gotta get all 30 parts. So you have to average 1 part per day. And so for a while, I was like averaging about 1 part per day, but I was worried, well, if I run into something where I can't find a part towards the end, it might get too hard. So, but I managed to pace myself, and I got to a point where there was a few days where I had like 2 parts in a day, so I had like a 2-day
Nice.
buffer towards the end. And the final boss, it took me 2 days to beat. And actually, I had to reset my save because I caused a Pikmin extinction.
Oh no!
So I had over 300 Pikmin, and I used them all for the final boss. They all
no.
died, and I was like,
God.
okay, reset to save. And what's interesting is like
Yeah.
it's actually like a scene. Like Olimar writes in his log, like, I can't believe I did this. I am a shameful leader. I caused a mass extinction of all the Pikmin. So I was like, nope, that's not how I'm
Oh,
ending my game. So I reset to my save to finish it. But yeah, it was good. It was good. It was nice to play it from beginning to end to completion. So I'll be starting Pikmin 2 soon, and then I'll do Pikmin 3, and then by that point, Pikmin 4 will probably be.
Is this your first time playing these?
I've played them before, but I have not played them to completion.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, you mentioning Pikmin 1 and 2 because I kind of forgot about it. First of all, really happy it came out. I want Nintendo to just future-proof more games. Awesome. I wanted your take on this, guys. What do you think of this Puro character? When he tweeted out everybody 1-2 Pikmin, I could not believe what I was seeing on this Twitter feed. This man leaked every game.
Oh,
Have we ever seen a leaker that accurate?
Honestly, I just kind of assumed everybody was wrong, so I didn't even look. So I didn't realize somebody was actually correct.
Well,
He
yeah.
tweeted out the name of every game except for
Dang.
he didn't leak Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon or the Peach game or WarioWare, but Mario
Oh, that's
RPG,
fair.
Mario Bros. Wonder, including the title, Pikmin 1 and 2, Dragon
Yeah.
Quest Monsters. Like
He
this
knew.
this
He
dude
knew.
this
Yeah.
dude saw the direct.
I mean, with
Like-
a with a real leak, I wouldn't expect them to get I would expect them to get everything right, but I wouldn't expect them to have all of the information. Usually, when I see like a leak and it's supposed to have like it has like a lot of information about something that's coming a long time from now, or it just has like too much information or like very specific stuff, I tend to like disbelieve it. But
Yeah.
so I'm not surprised that they didn't get every single game that was in the direct. But that's crazy. Nintendo's been really good actually at keeping things really tight-lipped. When did it leak? Like the day before?
So
Yeah, I'd say maybe 48 hours before.
yeah, on his
Was it after
Twitter,
the announcement of the direct or before?
both.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
during.
Yeah,
during everything
like-
because he kept tweeting more and more.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So it started before though.
Yeah, this was the first time. Like he's leaked things. Like he leaked things for the February direct as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think this is probably someone who is somehow involved with the direct, the making of the direct. So like you said, Bo, he saw the direct, right? Like he's part of the filming team, or someone's a part of the filming team, then they just told him. Yeah,
Somebody
it's like,
doing translations for
and there's definitely
Yeah.
no room.
Treehouse or something.
There's absolutely no room for like thinking he just got lucky. Like this is
No.
total
No.
legit. Like
Even
yeah,
third-party stuff he got, like Metal Gear
Yeah.
Solid Collection. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean,
this
we
man-
have
this man
seen
knew
like
something.
with Smash, we saw them be really good at leaks up until like the day before the reveal, and then they could get leaked. So it does kind of line up with. I mean, it is. We know it's a real leak, but yeah, it does line up very well with other leaks that we've seen that came true.
So when I saw this, I knew it was probably real just based on the track record. But my perspective was, okay, he's telling us some stuff, but it doesn't mean he's telling us everything. And I was talking with a few people, with a few friends. I was like, hey, so how do you guys feel about Prime 4? And they're like, I don't think so. The direct is leaked. I was like, yeah, it was leaked, but that doesn't mean they leaked everything. And they didn't, but they definitely leaked, like, the big stuff. So, you know, yeah, I mean, follow this person if you want the Nintendo Direct good stuff.
Feel like being spoiled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it does suck when it's right
everything.
before.
Yeah.
If it's like months in advance, so we can have like ongoing conversations about it, like F-Zero GX or Metroid Prime Remastered, that's more entertaining to me. When it's just 24 hours before, I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, I don't even look. I just wait for the direct.
Yeah, pretty much. I feel the same way. Like I didn't need these leaks, right? Like it's more interesting when there's a gap, because that, first of all, it's a lot harder. And there's a lot of room for interpretation, and because that mystery, the unknown of not knowing if it's legit or not, it's not really a spoiler, because you don't know, right? So if a rumor proves it to be true, you're like, holy shit, it proved to be true. That's epic. But if you know for a fact that all these things are legit, like, all right, I read the direct yesterday on Twitter, so
yeah,
I'm good.
It also definitely changes your expectations as you're watching it the first time, like that first impression of the direct, because the moment we saw Detective Pikachu, another game he said would be there, or a tease would be there,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, the direct is, we're about to see Mario RPG, Metal Gear Solid Collection, Dragon Quest Monsters, and the direct is ending on 2D Mario. I was like, okay. Which
you knew.
Definitely, takes a little bit of the win out of the sales there.
And, you know, well, again, Mario Bros. Wonder is amazing. It would have been really cool if there was something that I didn't see coming at the end. Which is why, like, I think for me, like, because I just, for a moment, I assumed, oh, the Peach game is the 2D Mario game. We don't know what the end is. That was cool. Even, like, I mean, it was cool regardless. But, you know, actually, something about the direct that was kind of weird to me. Kind of going back to, like, my grading of it. There were games, right? But there was also moments that I just thought were weird. Like, why bother announcing the Splatfest as a Splatoon segment, and then having the gall to put Splatoon on their like lineup of the direct?
Yeah,
like,
and they didn't even show the DLC.
That's not true. Like,
they have DLC for announcement, and they didn't even tease it.
But,
like, what was that?
Right. I mean, it's coming out next year at this point. Like, that much seems clear. But watch it not.
You think so?
Well,
I don't know. I mean, we're talking about August and September being empty. It's not a full game, but this could probably be a Twitter Shadow Drop direct, September direct Shadow Drop, maybe.
Release date deadline's 2024, so they could release.
Sure, it could be next year. Yeah, that'd be a long time in between, though. Yeah,
right. Because I mean, look, based off how they handled Splatoon 2, in terms of the timeline, this
is like 11 months.
Right. I mean, yeah, Splatoon 3 came out September last year, so I would expect.
I mean, when else are they gonna announce it? In September for what? December?
September for September, baby.
I mean, they could.
September for September. I mean, they could.
Yeah.
They could actually. I mean, they could. They could do that. That is possible. Yeah. Or they could have a trailer next month or later. Say, hey, so Sideways finally coming out. The same way they handle Future Redeemed, just out of nowhere.
Why not announce it in the
Weird
direct?
To not show it. But also, like, the Mario Kart 8 DLC not getting dated, that's weird. I would assume that's
strange.
a Twitter
that
drop.
One is not as strange, I would say, because it's not the first time that they'll give us.
We still saw it, at least.
We'll see. They show us a piece of it, and then they'll wait a few weeks before they give us the actual release date. They've done that before, so it's not as strange as a Splatoon one. But I do hear what you're saying there, and they showed 3 characters in this one. Like, there's definitely like a little bit of a disparity there.
I remember while we were watching the Splatoon 3 one, they were talking with I forget the name of like the 3 main
ice creams flavors.
Big Man.
No. The Big Man and the other
Fry and
Fry.
Shiver, I think.
Yeah, Shiver. You can tell how much I care about these characters. I remember they were talking, and I'm just like, man. This is like the stuff I skip at the beginning of the game, and I'm like, please go faster. Please let me skip this. And now they're just forcing it to me to watch it in the direct.
They force you to watch the part you normally skip. Yeah.
To you guys' point about
unskippable cutscene.
To you guys' point about the direct not being the greatest, maybe. The first 10 minutes were really bad. I don't know why they opened with Pokemon DLC and did not give Pokemon DLC a date. Did they have some contractual obligation with Pokemon Company? That has to be one of the weirdest openings for a direct ever.
Yeah, it's also weird because Pokemon was in the direct. That's not a normal thing. Like, we
Yeah.
might get a
No,
teaser
not
in
since
an
COVID.
E3 direct, but this is like multiple Pokemon trailers that were full scale. They wore the announcements. Like, there wasn't a Pokemon Presents outside of it, which is, I think, a good thing. I think Pokemon stuff should be a part of the directs. But it was not expected, which is interesting. Another weird thing to me was that towards the end of the direct, we're like, oh, we have a few more announcements. And I'm like, all right, let's go. Few more announcements. All right.
Oh yeah, this.
Like, 2 to 3 bangers in a row. Let's go. First one, Nintendo Live.
Oh
The
god.
I
thing
hate
we already
Nintendo.
know about that not all of us can even attend.
Yeah, like such a small portion of your audience could attend.
Gotta get your raffle ticket, guys.
So
You gotta win the Smash tournament to get a ticket.
yeah, so that I thought was just weird to put in there. And then the penultimate, like the second to last announcement was the Tears of the Kingdom amiibo, which is cool. The amiibo's cool, but I was like, oh, this is the second to last announcement. This is gonna be something substantial. They're gonna announce their DLC plans. I'm not saying the DLC should come out already. Just saying maybe they could have announced the plans already, right? Maybe announced what the free stuff will be, like a master mode, for example. No, just the amiibo coming this holiday as the second to last announcement to the
You get the
direct.
paraglider skins.
That they have not confirmed.
That I think they did confirm it.
Did they? Okay, maybe you're right.
I mean, I didn't just assume that. I heard that somewhere that they confirmed.
maybe
it.
it's like on the website or
So
something.
I'm saying that.
That
Yeah,
could,
I think
that,
so.
That could be it. Yeah.
It feels like Dark Moon and Peach game are like last minute additions, which is why that leaker didn't know them. And then it feels like they took Tears of the Kingdom DLC out last second or something.
I don't know.
Because that is weird to have your penultimate thing be amiibo. Yeah.
Right. So it's like those things that kind of, I was, and then the month gap thing, right? The August, September, like 1 month is one thing, but 2 months is a little bit out of the ordinary for Nintendo. It doesn't mean, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really mean that much because Nintendo's going to still perform well. They're still going to do fine. And to your point, they could always just announce something with a short turnaround to fill in one of those months at least. That's just odd.
You know,
Just some
I
oddities.
can be positive about the direct actually. I'm excited to see. I'm not gonna play these games on Switch because I own them on PC already, but I'm very excited to see how the port of Batman Arkham Knight looks on Switch because it is Unreal Engine 3, but that game did not run particularly well even on the PS4 and Xbox One. And even PC, like it took years till you could run it at a consistent 60 FPS on PC. Like till hardware was released that was good enough. So I'm curious. I wonder if they're gonna try to port it to Unreal Engine 4, just fix some of the core issues with the game and make it more performant, or if they're gonna strip out some of the more intensive features or what. The trailer, I need to look at it more, but I noticed in the trailer it did look like Switch footage. It looked clean, but it didn't look as good as the PS4 or Xbox One versions, though I am used to playing the PC version, so maybe I just don't remember how those versions look quite. But I'm excited to see how those games look. I think Asylum and City, those were originally 360 and PS3 games, so those will run fine on Switch. But I'm curious how Arkham Knight will run.
Yeah. Do we know who's porting them?
I don't think so.
I'm not sure either. There was another game that was interesting, the Star Ocean remake.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I love the new take on the HD 2D art style. It's great.
2D, 3D.
2D, 3D, yeah.
2D, 3D.
HD 2D, 3D, yep.
Yeah, I think this game looks great.
Everything in one.
I've never played Star Ocean. I did buy the first game because it's also on Switch.
Yeah.
I haven't played it too much yet, but
Is it remade
This
the
looks
same
really good.
way? Or is it
it's
different?
remade, but not quite like this. Not to this level.
Should I just
It is
skip?
a more budget Square Enix,
Okay.
2019 era,
Well, I
So
guess 'cause
upscaled
the
and
thing is-
properly, like they're really low budget remasters.
I would say it's a step above their mobile stuff.
Does it have really, really awful HD font slapped onto pixel art?
It actually looked pretty good. The fonts did.
Can I
it's like
skip it
the
and
bit
just play
fonts.
this one?
Some
Probably.
Square Enix remasters, some of their pixel art remasters just come out and they're just really bad.
That's so hit or miss.
I've definitely
Yeah.
always been positive on the HD 2D games.
Oh yeah, the HD 2D ones have all been good.
I haven't bought any of them, which maybe that makes me a bad person. But
How
I'd
dare you.
like to. I'd like to. It's really just like, I don't have time to play every single game that comes out. I just don't. I wish
Yeah.
I could. Maybe I'll play the Star Ocean: The Second Story during that August-September window until Nintendo announces Metroid Prime 2 Remastered.
Unfortunately, it comes out the day before WarioWare, so you'll be busy with that.
I could see myself not getting WarioWare though.
I'm
and
not
getting this.
gonna get WarioWare.
But that's in
I feel
November,
like that's the
right?
kind of
Or is it
game
what?
I need somebody else to play with in order to enjoy, and I just don't have somebody who's gonna want to play that game with me. So
Yeah.
Well, Mario RPG comes out November, so
November stacked if you like JRPGs and tactics games. You got Star
Yeah.
Ocean, Mario RPG, and Persona 5.
here's another thing that's kind
Tactica.
of weird to me though, and I'm just curious what you guys make of this, right? And this kind of contributes to like my overall, it's a pacing thing, as you said earlier. Why put Mario RPG in November and Mario Wonder in October? Like that just feels strange. Like shouldn't there be some gap there? And why is it back-to-back Mario games? Like it's just. Also, isn't Mario Bros. Wonder the bigger game? Yet that's October. Our Mario RPG is November. It's just odd.
Yeah, it is weird. It makes me wonder how much faith they have in something like Detective Pikachu, because we don't have a mainline Pokemon game this year. But normally, I remember. I mean, this is going way back now, but Super Mystery Dungeon on 3DS came out November 2015 when there was no mainline Pokemon game. So I feel like I would have to check. We don't really get first-party Nintendo games in November outside of Pokemon. We're getting 2 this year, which is weird. Because WarioWare in 2021 was a September game. Get it together.
Yeah.
Super Mario RPG could have totally been a September game, I feel like. Or even October, and then, move Mario Wonder to
Right.
November.
And
It is weird. Because I imagine the way Nintendo does, which we talked about, I imagine these games are all probably done. Or at least in the polishing stage,
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. So 2022, what was our lineup?
Scarlet and Violet was November.
Bayonetta 3
And
was
then
October.
Bayonetta, yeah.
Was that it?
Splatoon in September. Well, Mario
Yeah.
Rabbids was October, but
Yeah.
Ubisoft.
Yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
published in some areas by Nintendo. So that is like
Sure.
a weird one. And then 2021, it was actually similar to this year, where there was 4 games, 2 games per month. So it was Metroid Dread and Mario Party Superstars in October, and then Shin Megami Tensei 5 and Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl in November.
They didn't publish that though, did they?
Which
SMT5.
one? I think they
Shin
did.
Megami Tensei.
I thought they did. Oh, I could be wrong.
I don't think they did. Sometimes it's kind of weird. I saw people saying they're publishing that Disney Illusion Island game, and I was doing some investigating. I'm like, no, what? That's not. It's fake news. They might have had some sort of hand in it.
Yeah, I don't think they published it. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think they published it, but it was kind of like, I think it's like
It's what I was saying with like Level 5 potentially this year. They clearly promoted it and treated
Yeah.
it like their own game. So like if we get Fantasy Life this year still, they'll probably promote that on their own. Same with Kaidos. Although we're already seeing they're maybe not promoting that, which is weird.
It's just odd. Yeah.
Or even like that
forgot about Fantasy Life getting announced.
yeah.
I am
But,
actually hyped for that. I love Fantasy Life on the 3DS.
I'm excited to check it out. I never played it on 3DS, but
My favorite 3DS game.
oh really? Wow.
Yeah.
I know people swear by it, but what I was gonna say is even that Fashion Dreamer game, which is being made by the Style Savvy devs. Why isn't Nintendo publishing that? Could they not handle the localization effort? Are they just not interested in that kind of game anymore? It's weird.
I have a really important question to
I don't know.
ask you guys, and I'm putting this as a poll question as well.
Okay.
Okay, so like I had made a prediction that there would be 3 farming simulators announced or shown off during the direct.
Silent Hope counts. Whatever that game was called.
There was 2 games that were very clearly farming simulators. The third one is debatable, and that's Pikmin 4.
Oh.
Do we consider Pikmin? And by the way, Farming Simulator isn't necessarily me saying it's bad. No. I just beat Pikmin over the weekend. Like, does that if there's not anything else I can say that makes it clear?
You
I
are
like Pikmin.
cultivating crops and forging your destiny in Pikmin.
Correct.
These keywords they like to use.
Right.
Cultivate your destiny and Fey farm.
So let me know, is Pikmin 4 a farming simulator? Because if so, that was the one prediction I had totally right.
I'm
If
voting
not-
yes on that. Well, I think you were right anyway. Unless you really mean just truly a new announcement, because we had that game, I think it's called Palia, the free-to-play game that
Yeah.
looked like Fortnite.
Then
There was an Xseed game called Silent Hope, which was like an action RPG, kind of like Harvestella, with some farming elements. And then Fae Farm was there, but that game was already announced. So you're already close. When I was watching the direct, I was like, are we really doing Farming Direct 2.0 right now?
Farming Direct 2.0, here we go.
Yay.
we go. Yeah. And obviously it's a joke.
Yeah.
Doesn't really
These
matter.
games are for these games do well. There's
Right.
definitely an audience for them.
Yeah.
Somebody likes them, just not us. I mean, I like them.
Well,
just not,
unless we're talking
not
about
gonna
Pikmin
get hyped
4. Pikmin
for
4.
those-
Yeah. Story of seasons is good.
70,000th, 70,000th, damn, 70,000th farming simulator that I've seen on Switch. Just not excited anymore.
Yeah. So let me do a few questions here in the chat, and then we'll do like one closing thing, and then we'll finish up. So guy you don't know, Atomy. It's nice to know that with Sparks of Hope and now the Super Mario RPG remake, the RPG sub-series isn't dead. Hopefully this is a sign of things to come. Yeah, I mean there's quite a few
On a new
Mario
Paper
Mario
That's
games that-
actually an RPG.
yeah. sort of, right? Mario RPG remake is interesting because if that's successful, I think that can open the door for the return of like a more frequent Mario RPG series. And there's this other thing that's interesting. So remember how there's like a 1,000-year door Paper Mario remake rumor? That might be true. I don't know for a fact, right? But I don't know if you guys heard, but Nate the Hate said he heard that a Paper Mario remaster project is in the works, a remake project's in the works. So the question
Did he
is,
just say Paper Mario, or did he say which one?
I think he said he wasn't sure which one it is.
exactly. So I think you may have saw the same thing then. But the question is that because he wasn't sure, right? If like with that alone, I assume okay, it's absolutely 1,000-year door. Because why would Nintendo remake anything else but 1,000-year door?
Yeah, I
Right.
feel like if you don't remake 1,000-Year Door, every 1,000-Year Door fan, including myself, is gonna come knock down your door.
Watch it be Color Splash with an extra splash. Of
Oh
color.
my
Well,
god! No.
The question in chat about Mario RPG is interesting, or not even. It wasn't really a question; it's kind of like more of a observation. It's really nice to see them bringing this back.
Yeah.
I believe the director or producer of Mario RPG, I can't remember who it was at Square Enix, they had said they want to do a sequel. So if this does well, I think we get Mario RPG 2 in this style.
That
Which is
would-
really exciting.
That would be amazing. It would be so. Cool.
I've never
However,
played this game.
me neither. I'm super excited. But to the point of Paper Mario, I feel like Mario RPG hurts Paper Mario going back to its roots, as we'll say, even
Sure.
more. And I actually did a video about this when we heard about 1,000-Year Door, I think maybe earlier this year. I would not be surprised if it's Paper Mario 1, which is a fantastic game, right
is.
up there with 1,000-Year Door.
It
I love
is.
that game. Or even Super Paper Mario, which is far and away the best-selling Paper Mario game. We're getting a lot of Wii ports. That game is also fantastic.
It is great. I do love Super Paper Mario.
I'm just
but
saying,
come
I
on.
don't think they're gonna do too much turn-based Mario action within the next 12 months. And if we're already hearing rumors about a Paper Mario game, I think it might be Super Paper Mario, which I'd be hyped for. But
I would be hyped.
get your pitchforks ready. I can already their reaction is gonna be hilarious if it is.
If
Or
they
even,
do
even
one,
Color
though, I
Splash,
will-
wouldn't be shocked because it would just be an easier port.
There's another.
I don't think. I think people hated Color Splash so much that'd be like
People
porting,
hated it because they listened to Arlo.
It'd be like porting
Federation. Force.
Federation Force or Animal Crossing, whatever the frick it's called, the board game piece of crap.
It's not to
Be
that
like
level.
porting that.
Color Splash is still a good game.
Yeah. I mean, I would.
You want to know what's a
I would
better
play
game?
it because I never played it before. But I
Most
don't
people that
think-
say it's bad have not played it.
That's true. I don't think it would. I don't know, maybe it would recoup some losses for them. I don't know. That's fair, I guess.
It'd
Yeah.
probably be too similar to
But
Origami King for them to do, because they want
that would
to
definitely
have the
be like a
variety.
port.
Yeah, just a straight port, not
not
Origami
some
King remake.
remaster.
Or
Yeah.
Oh no, I mean, yeah, Color
yeah,
Splash,
yeah.
I
Sorry, I
understand.
misspoke. Yeah, Paper Mario is interesting because I think you could do any of them, and all of them make sense except for Sticker Star. Imagine they do Sticker Star.
I feel
Oh,
like the first
God.
one doesn't make sense just because you can already play it on N64 online.
Sure,
So it's like,
you're right actually, and they never put Mario RPG on here
I-
clearly because they knew
Yeah.
it was coming. So
I'll
yeah, you're right.
concede that the Wii one, that maybe that one instead of Thousand Year Door. But I'm gonna throw. I brought this up to throw out something else that might be a little on the negative side, but I'm just trying to just considering all the options.
just being real.
What if the Paper Mario remake project is actually Super Mario RPG? And it could be just
Ooh.
conflation because it's a Mario RPG series, and they're like, like Mario RPG is kind of like the original. It is the original Mario
It
RPG, and then it kind of branched off into Mario and Luigi, and then you have to the Paper Mario series. So you could kind of,
Well,
you
I
know,
would
like
believe Paper Mario was originally supposed to be like a successor to Super Mario RPG.
Yeah,
and
they
then
don't
they
want to. They don't
changed
want to have
heavily.
Square Enix involved anymore. Yeah.
yeah.
They
So
want full
it
control.
literally is like the first Paper Mario game essentially.
That's interesting. I could see that happening. The only thing that makes me think that wouldn't be the case is because, and this is weird because the Switch's life cycle has been going on for so long. We've gotten a new Paper Mario game every 4 years. I don't think we're gonna get a new one again on Switch, but we are due for another one.
Origami King
feel
came
like-
out 2021.
So next year would be 4 years. Yeah.
Oh,
Speaking
wow.
of intelligent systems being busy,
Could be a
I
cross-gen
would be
title,
happy.
or just a Switch
Get that,
title.
they need 4K for Paper Mario.
Yeah.
They
I
have
don't know. I mean, Origami King looks really good.
No, those
so
games
I
look
would
fantastic.
Be
Yeah.
really interested to see what they could do on
Yeah.
a newer piece of hardware.
Also, I would love it if Mario RPG, what did become like the new Mario RPG series, right? Especially because now Nintendo and Square Enix work so well together, right? Like are they behind this in any way?
We don't know who's making this either.
I'm looking at the website, the Nintendo site, to see if there's any. It just says
It
published
says
by
copyright
Nintendo.
Square Enix, but yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen people saying
that could just
people
be
are analyzing the UI, saying it's Camelot or Indie Cube. I don't think so. Maybe Camelot because they do have some roots with RPGs, but
that would be cool.
maybe Grezzo could be doing this
Maybe.
potentially.
Yeah, I think they recently Grezzo announced that they're working on something that's not Nintendo related.
It's a
but-
mobile game, but it seems lower
Yeah,
budget.
but the thing is,
Yeah.
they can do more than one thing at once, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that they can't.
They're getting that Apple Arcade money.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know, but I would be okay if this is like the beginning of a new series that would be it should have been from the beginning, and the Paper Mario series becomes more like what Origami King is. Which, by the way, love Origami King. That might be my favorite game from 2020.
It was a rough year, so
Yes, but Origami King.
maybe not saying a lot.
Origami King's a really good game. It's a really fun adventure
I still
game.
haven't finished it. But I enjoyed what I played.
I loved it. I personally loved Origami King. But I'm also not a traditional Paper Mario fan, right? Because I have not beaten Thousand Year Door, so I kind of hope they bring it to Switch, right? I've played a lot of the N64 Paper Mario, but I also haven't beaten that one, so I probably should do that.
That's great.
Yeah, so I would love an opportunity to go back to Thousand Year Door, but Origami King is actually the first Paper Mario game I finished from beginning to end. And I might have almost preferred the lighter RPG elements because I personally like action adventure games. So for me, it was like kind of like perfect. Like it was very almost like Zelda-esque, right? Like it had like those dungeons and stuff, and really cool boss fights.
I think you
love
should
the
play Color
mechanics.
Splash. I think you'll like Color Splash.
Maybe.
I feel like
Maybe.
Origami King could have been better if they had just gone for like just platforming or something and just like ditched the I didn't find the combat to be that fun. It's fine.
I thought it
It's
was worse
okay.
than Color Splash, honestly.
I haven't
thought-
played Color Splash, so
I thought
don't know.
I did not like Origami King's combat. That's the biggest issue for me. But that's the issue with every Paper Mario game past Thousand Year Door is combat. For some reason, they keep trying to do some weird.
I mean,
sticker
Super Paper
card
Mario had
thing with it.
okay combat. It just wasn't an RPG.
It's just a platformer, yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like Origami King could just, if they just leaned into it being not completely not an RPG and just had it been a platformer, I think it would have actually been better.
Right.
Because I agree, I liked the just exploring and like having fun things happen, like finding all the collectibles. It's kind of like how I felt when I was playing like Luigi's Mansion almost.
Sure.
So I do enjoy the new style of Paper Mario. I just also want like, I wish the old style would exist as well.
Yeah, but
'Cause I do feel like the new style isn't as good as something like Thousand Year Door, but Thousand Year Door is also a game that I consider like one of my favorite games ever made. So I'm probably really biased on that.
Thousand Year Door fan, just play Super Mario RPG. Buy that.
This is your
play
this is
that.
your new
I'm
game now.
excited. I'm excited to see if
Yeah.
I enjoy this. Just because it's kind of, you know, like the roots
Yeah.
of a game that I love so much.
Guy
Yeah.
Donut is saying Origami King released in 2020, not 2021. I
Did
know.
we say 20? Oh,
That-
we
I
didn't
th-
say 2021.
I don't.
think.
I don't
You
think.
did say 2021 at some point.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, I definitely meant 2020 because we were talking about the pandemic year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah. Yeah. Hyrule Warriors. I think Origami King is a better game than Hyrule Warriors.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I did not. I like Warriors
That's no
games. Age of
follower.
Calamity didn't do it. I don't know.
I think Age of Calamity really needed to be on a more powerful system.
It's weird because Three Hopes runs pretty well. Three Hopes is fantastic. The Fire Emblem one they released last year.
Yeah.
Age of Calamity
Yeah,
was
I didn't
was
play that
weird.
one.
I think Age of Calamity was kind of the most graphically intensive one that they went for. Like it really did try to emulate like the
Yeah.
style and look. Like it, especially with the cutscenes, look pretty much on par with like the actual game, and the game comes really close to looking like Breath of the Wild. So it doesn't surprise me that it runs a lot heavier than a game like Three Hopes and a lot of the other Warriors games, just because they were a lot more basic, especially with like the texturing and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a super chat here from Taker610. Thank you for that super chat, buddy. Taker says, and I had my hopes up for a Chrono Trigger remake. Yeah, you know, I'm kind of glad it was Super Mario RPG. Like, seeing it, like, yeah, this is what I would have
Aw,
preferred.
man.
But,
Dang, now you've made me want a Chrono Trigger or
But, like-
remake, and I would much prefer that
but why?
to this.
We could still get it, though.
We could.
Like,
Yeah. I think this is the best outcome because Square Enix is remastering and remaking every game known to man that they've ever touched.
exactly.
We're still gonna get Chrono Trigger.
Very true.
Mario
Right.
RPG was not a guarantee because of Nintendo.
Exactly.
So I feel like this is the best of both worlds where we're probably
We're gonna
get
get a
both over
Chrono
time.
Trigger that's this polished, this high budget.
Without Nintendo's involvement, probably not.
Because this looks like really good. Like the graphics are really nice. It's got it has CGI for like the cutscenes, but I feel like the actual gameplay when they do like, because you know it's just like over the head kind of view, so it's very easy to just pump up the detail. It looks pretty close to the CGI.
Yeah.
So it looks spectacular. This is a game where it's really impressive just how good it looks, like on Switch.
We're still talking about Mario RPG, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm really impressed with it. I mean, it makes sense with the kind of constraints that the game has, but still, like, you still have to put a lot of time and effort into making, you know, that kind of high-level assets and things. It looks really nice. They put a lot of care and effort into making the game look absolutely gorgeous.
And the fact that it has, like, full CGI cutscenes is really cool.
Yeah, this is like AAA effort for a remake.
It's a big deal. I agree. Yeah, and I think Chrono Trigger probably will happen. Like, as you said, there's so many Square Enix remakes and remasters. I would love to see it remade in the HD 2D style, which may seem like played out at this point, but it will just be such a good idea.
We're still waiting on Dragon Quest 3, which they announced 2 years ago. I don't know what's up with that,
Mm.
but I do wonder if when they inevitably get the Chrono Trigger, I don't. Would they do HD2D or would they try to do some weird Final Fantasy VII remake tier? Like they just go crazy with it.
Well, that would be
There,
insane.
there's so many,
that'd
there's so
be
many
so
different,
good.
there's so many different tiers of like Square Enix remake. You'd never know what you're gonna get now because Final Fantasy IX remake leaked like 2 years ago, and that's definitely coming next year or being announced next year, probably. Final Fantasy Tactics. You never know what you're getting with them.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it looks like the stream is dying again. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm sorry.
Rest in peace.
I think it's coming back, but it's weird, and I have no idea why.
Is it because you just moved? You have no internet or something?
Well, I had this internet before, and it was never any issue, so I really don't know what the problem is. It could just be bad luck. Sometimes that's straight up all it is, just bad luck. So we'll see. But I mean, it's running. It's just I see
Choppy.
I see it like I see it getting choppy. We are near the end of the show though, so it's all right. Hopefully you guys can at least hear me.
Yeah, if they can hear us.
Yeah. So I'm gonna end this poll. Most of you do not think Pikmin 4 is a farming simulator. I'm not surprised.
Dang.
I'm not surprised. Yeah, but I mean, I feel like we've kind of touched on some of the major points. We touched on Mario RPG. We touched on Mario Bros. Wonder, which are really the 2 stars of the show. We mentioned a couple other little things. Is there anything else you guys would like to bring up or talk about before we close things out?
Have you guys seen the trailer for Goodfield's new game? That was in the Japanese direct. That game looks fantastic.
The Goemon game?
Yeah, it's a Goemon. Well, is it actually Goemon or is
I
it?
think
like
it's just
new...
inspired.
Yeah,
a lot of the devs who worked on Goemon.
I really hope that gets localized. I don't think Nintendo's publishing it in Japan, but it actually looks fantastic. It's like this 3D action game, ninja game. It looks. If that had been in the American direct, that would have been one of the best games in the direct. Like that's how good it looks.
Yeah.
I really want to play Goemon's Great Adventure on N64 Online. That's not a thing. I don't think, and I really wish it was.
Who owns that? Is that Konami?
Maybe.
That sounds like a Konami game.
It's the only one in the series I've played, but I loved that game as a kid.
Yeah, it's always a head scratcher when I see like a game come out in another part of the world. I'm like, well, but why? That could have been here.
It is
Why?
Konami. It is Konami. Yeah.
No wonder it's not actually a Goemon game. Then they kind of get the license.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm hoping Nintendo
Rough.
steps in and publishes that, and at least in America, because it looks really good. And Goodfield has a very good track record at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I think just overall, Nintendo gave us what we needed, until September. So
I'm all about that roadmap. That's why the February direct for me wasn't that great, because after Zelda we didn't really know what was going on.
Sure, I see where you're coming from.
And normally, normally in February, with the exception of 2020, we pretty much know a lot of what's coming out at the end of the year. Like I think back to 2019 where they revealed Astral Chain and Link's Awakening in that February direct. So to get the full roadmap of the year is basically all I could have asked for from this direct. So I'm content with it.
You know what would make this direct way better? Goemon's Great Adventure. This is suddenly the game I want to play the most out of any game that I can think of at the top of my head.
Yeah.
Man, I swear to God, if they announced, if Shadow dropped Goemon's Great Adventure and they said available now, I'd just be like, okay, guys, bye, and I'd go play this game.
I'm about to check it out.
Yeah, but
I don't know if the game's like that great. I just have a lot of nostalgia for it because I played it as a little kid.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say though, Bo, to your point about how this direct did a good job of making actual new announcements for things to come in the future. That's an interesting perspective, right? Because as I said earlier, right, like my perspective is when I'm looking at a direct, I want them to fill up the lineup leading until, for that half of the year, right? Which is why I like the February direct, because they did a good job of filling up that first half, which I think we all agree was an amazing first half. And then the second half is looking solid, and really my criticism is just there's 3 months in the year that don't have something announced yet. But to your point though, there was a lot of games that were announced that were coming from Nintendo. Like I can think of at least 7 off the top of my head. So
I think it's 7 or 8. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Detective Pikachu, Mario RPG, Mario Bros. Wonder, WarioWare, Peach game, Luigi Dark Moon remaster. That's at least 6. There may be that's 6 that's pretty good. So, and looks like Discord died on me now. Today is a weird day. Weird day in terms of the stream. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties, guys. Discord crashed on me for the second time. I do not know what's going on. But I'll try and make sure this does not happen again next week. I apologize. Yeah, it's like my computer's dying on me. But we're ending the stream. I'll just bring them back on real quick so we can say goodnight. As soon as OBS opens back up for me. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. I'm on Task Manager. I don't even know what you guys can see right now. Alright. So I'm on Task Manager. And Discord is not on Task Manager, but it's still on the screen, which is just crazy. Alright, so let me see if I can bring them back in real quick here. Oh. I can't even do that. This is so weird. Hold on. Yeah, Discord is just... Oh, look, okay. Alright. There's some hidden Discord stuff working here in the background. Okay, I think I'll be able to bring it back now. Hopefully. Weird.
And
Discord
the other one
crashed
was
on
the
me
Super Mario
again.
Wonder. I also don't know if I'm going to enjoy that. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to really play a lot of Nintendo this for the rest of the year. I think I said this to Andres after we stopped streaming the reaction to the Direct. But I said this might be the first year in a while that I actually play more of non-Nintendo games than Nintendo games.
Sure. I think it's a great year for all three, honestly.
Yeah.
All three
I'm
of them.
very
fair.
curious about Starfield. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm cautiously optimistic.
I'm curious if that game will be overwhelming to me, because there's like 1,000 plus planets.
Yeah.
But it does seem like you can't go anywhere at once. Like you have like a certain limited range of planets that you can go to, and then you have to like get a good enough ship to be able to like leave your solar system, and then you gotta get a good enough ship to go to like other solar systems. So it seems like maybe the game will pace itself enough to where I'm not like freaking out. But typically games like RPGs that have like way too many mechanics or way too many things that you can do at once, I'm just like, God, I don't know what I want to do. Oh.
Yeah.
And I just don't do anything.
I feel bad for Spider-Man 2. Comes out the same day as Mario Wonder. I will be playing Mario Wonder
I
first.
mean, that's a very different audience. I think Spider-Man 2
I'm not saying it's gonna
extremely well.
I'm not saying it's gonna hurt its sales. I'm just saying for me personally, my time that weekend will be going to Mario.
I
Yeah.
still
I
need
mean, to be
play Elden
honest,
Ring.
I didn't realize
Ring, yeah.
Spider-Man 2. If I have a PS5 by the time Spider-Man 2 comes out, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be playing Spider-Man 2. Like,
Sure.
I've been a huge Spider-Man fan. Like Spider-Man, Zelda, and Batman are like my favorite things that exist. Maybe
Sure.
like Harry Potter.
Maybe August should be my non-Nintendo game month. I'm finally gonna play Elden Ring next August. There you go. Right after I beat Pikmin 4.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get ready for the DLC.
Yeah.
Oh, we have Armored Core 6 coming out too. It's a
Mm.
good year. It's a good year overall.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that 2023 is gonna be a good year for Nintendo. I mean, yeah, and there's good games coming from the other companies, but yeah, I'm gonna end the stream now before before something crashes again. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, this does not normally happen, Bo. But
It's all my fault. I'm bringing the negative energy. The
It's
Prime
not-
4
nah,
switch to anti-believing energy.
it's probably somehow related to me moving. I don't know how exactly, but it is. So I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you have any final thoughts before we close out?
I don't think so. I think we covered pretty much everything.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the Direct. A lot for me to play this year from all three, as we just discussed. So I'm excited, especially for Mario Bros. Wonder and also Mario RPG. Because Mario RPG is something I've always wanted to play, but it's finally time.
Yeah. Yeah, something maybe we could have talked a little bit more on, because we talked about Pikmin 1 2, but we didn't talk about Pikmin 4.
Oh yeah, we
Ooh,
didn't.
yeah.
We completely skipped over the next
Yeah.
big game.
Yeah.
I like this is probably nobody's gonna care about this but me, but I've been saying for years, I'm like, it'd be great if Nintendo was making Pikmin 4 in Unreal Engine 4, I'm curious if this is true or not, but we heard like years and years ago that Pikmin 4 was done, and then it just didn't happen till now. And I was wondering if they actually were building something for Wii U and they canceled it, and then my theory was they were going to make a Switch game with Unreal Engine 4, because it just made sense to me with the type of game and the type of like environments they're showing. And the game is Unreal Engine 4. No idea if it got canceled before and switched over, but at least it's on Unreal Engine 4, and I'm happy because it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. I think the bigger question is, was he talking about Hey Pikmin?
I don't think he. I think it was confirmed that he was
either. But come on, I don't know. It's weird. Why has Pikmin always got to have these weird announcement to release 10-year gaps?
I think they confirmed that it wasn't Hey Pikmin, but
I thought they had. I mean, I keep getting asked this over the years and checking and forgetting for sure, but I'm pretty sure.
I think you guys are right, but yeah, I guess it must have restarted development then at some point with Unreal Engine.
It's my theory.
It makes sense. Makes sense. Yep. Yeah, but anyway, like Pikmin 4. I mean, it's kind of like I know I want it, right? It's like I like that with the.
Oh yeah, that is another game I'm gonna purchase from Nintendo this year. There's the third game.
They showed a really good gameplay loop, right? Like you have like the caves, you have the surface, you have nighttime gameplay, and I kind of like that now. There are just people you're gonna save. Like there's just. I think it goes beyond just the main squad, which is really interesting. It's just gonna be kind of like something you find. It makes me wonder how big this game is. Definitely probably bigger than Pikmin 1 and 2. I'm
curious. Do we know what the overall like objective is? Like, how do you end the game?
Find Olimar.
You're saving Olimar because he crash landed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like the entire plot.
Find the entire crew and then Olimar. Okay. Yeah, it's a rescue mission. The initial mission is to rescue Olimar, but then the rescue squad fails, and then you have to rescue the rescue squad and Olimar. And what's interesting is that there's this character that looks like Olimar with the red hair.
He's beautiful.
Yeah.
He is epitome of masculinity.
Something.
Yeah. So that may be Olimar, or maybe it's a fake out. But we'll see. It looks good though, and we got new Pikmin confirmed, Glow Pikmin, which is interesting.
Yes, dude. Those were in the concept art for Pikmin 3 like 10 years ago.
That's wicked.
At least in some form. Yeah, they look like ghosts, but yeah, Glow Pikmin. I was a little disappointed with the Ice Pikmin, so to see this, very very nice.
Yeah, but they're only for nighttime gameplay.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
they're also I think the only Pikmin you can use during nighttime.
Is that true?
I think so.
I haven't rewatched the trailer.
Yeah,
Pikmin 4, I know I'm gonna have like the most wonderful time playing it, but I don't know. I don't like get super hyped up. It's more of like a low-key game. But then I know as soon as I'm playing it, controller in my hands, I'll be so happy playing it. But
I'm excited because I want to see how good the game looks. But I'm also excited because I want to play the game. So it's a bit of both.
Yeah, I mean, you can pick 1 and 2 to hype yourself up. Like, I mean, it's
waiting for that physical, baby.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's another interesting thing to maybe talk about before we close out. Just that Pikmin 1 and 2 with the shadow drops and then the physicals coming out a little bit later. It is...
And they got that demo for Pikmin 4 on Wednesday, too.
Yeah.
Previews came out today from press.
That's interesting.
Nice. I didn't see any.
It does kind of make me feel like Nintendo is... it's almost a pattern. If next Direct they do it again, it is now a pattern. That having a shadow drop remaster and then a physical coming out a little bit later. I'm very curious what that will be. Maybe Metroid Prime 2 feels like a good candidate. F-Zero GX remaster is also interesting. The thing about F-Zero is that I kind of, if it's true that Next Level Games is working on it, I feel like it's a more significant remaster.
Yeah.
Not just like a visual upscale, but like graphically changed, but also maybe online play, potentially new content. Like, to me, I feel like it's going to be a $60 game, you know? So, would they shadow drop a $60 game? I'm not sure. But we'll see. I think something will happen. I think Metroid Prime 2 might be that.
Well,
that thing.
Do you think it would just be 2, or would it be 2 and 3? Because I don't think they can... Maybe it doesn't need a physical release, but I don't know if they can just do 2 by itself physically, if it's a more bare bones port.
I think they would be wise to release them together. It's not like Zelda. People aren't just gonna go out in droves and buy it no matter what.
It makes sense. It makes sense to do two. I mean, that's actually another interesting point because, like, we have a few. There's a few scenarios where we're like, okay, there's these two games from this franchise that need to come out. How do they do it? It's not just Prime 2 and 3. It's also Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD. Now, those I don't think are coming for a long time.
Yeah.
But the way they handle
those, I also feel like they could just slap on the eShop for $60 individually, and people would buy them. I hope not. I really hope not. But I know I would buy at least Wind Waker.
Yeah.
I think they're running out of Zelda ports, so I think they'll space them out a little bit better.
Yeah, I think I mean, I mentioned this before, but I think they're gonna start remaking Zelda games.
Ocarina of Time. That's
Yep.
my big prediction.
Yep. We're on the same page.
I think that could be an early Switch 2 game. Maybe not launch title, but
I think it would be a great
year.
way to get like a exclusive Zelda experience for Switch 2 before we have to wait till the end of the generation for a new Zelda.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a while for a new one.
Yeah.
I want to see 2D Zelda get some more love as well.
That'd be nice.
The new 2D Zelda game.
Been
I
10
mean,
years.
2D Mario is take it or leave it for me, but 2D Zelda, now that's something I really enjoy.
Well, 2D Mario is more overdue than 2D Zelda, right?
Kind of. Not really.
Around
it's been
the
10
same.
years for like Between Worlds. That was 2013.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah. Now we did have Triforce Heroes, but you can say we had Mario Maker.
Yeah.
It doesn't count.
Well, we did get a
and we
high
got Link's
quality.
Awakening.
Yeah, that's a high. That's a remake, right? It's not just a remaster. That's
Nice
a high quality
remake,
So it depends how you look at it, right? But
Yeah.
I feel like Mario would probably come. Mario makes more sense for this year, but that maybe 2D Zelda is like the next project after the Tears of the Kingdom DLC, assuming that's even a thing.
Yeah, it depends on what Grez is doing. I mean, if you asked me a year ago if we would get another 2D Zelda on Switch, I would have said absolutely yes. But now the gap is closing, so I don't know. I've also been anticipating like some sort of multiplayer game. That just makes so much sense with the Joy-Con, but that never happened.
I'd actually be hyped for a Four Swords game.
For sure.
I would love them to bring a Four Swords back. Obviously not.
I mean,
as,
Triforce
the
Heroes,
replacement, but
low key, actually a really good game.
I like that game.
It was
I
great.
If
I
you
remember
can get a good group, yeah.
Yeah. It is definitely dependent on who you're playing with.
You tried playing that game single player, it is horrible.
Oh yeah, single player is bad. I used to play the demo multiplayer, and it would just depend on how smart your teammates were.
Yeah.
I never actually got to play the game like with friends in a lobby because none of my other friends had it at the time. But it's even just playing that with like randoms was really fun. So I would love a new multiplayer Zelda game on Switch. I think that would be great.
Yeah,
We'll see.
yeah. Well,
Fingers crossed.
I think we have a lot of things to be excited about. So, Nintendo's keeping the momentum going, right? One way or another, the games are coming, and that's exciting. But that is all for now, everyone. Please make sure to check out Bo's channel. It is linked in the description below. Great Nintendo channel, so please check that out. Any final words or any products you want to mention before we close out?
I don't think so. I just appreciate you asking me to come on.
Yeah,
a lot
man.
of fun. Been following you for, like I said, like a little more than half a year now, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it was a real pleasure. No, I'm glad we've got to actually like talk and meeting. It's been fun. You should definitely come on again sometime.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yeah. And Brandon exists. So
I do somehow.
yeah. But you can follow Brandon on his Twitter.
Hey, actually, if you follow me on Discord, I released a preview for a new song I'm working on. That if I ever do finish it, then I'll go on YouTube. And I do have a song on YouTube. It's not great. Also, it's no lyrics. It's just music, guys. I had a lot of people who are expecting there to be lyrics. I don't have a good enough microphone to put lyrics. I'd need like $1,000 microphone to feel confident enough to put lyrics out. But yeah, I'm working on that, so I'm doing things somewhat sometimes. Maybe.
Getting creative again. It's coming back
Yeah, trying.
in due time.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, all right, guys. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.